Guys, my name is Ali and I'm a full stack developer based in Dubai. And yeah, this is going to be my first video on YouTube about the Tesla clone basically. Everyone was kind of requesting me to actually uh, make a video about how I actually came on to build this clone. It's not a full production level application, but it's pretty similar to the actual Tesla website, as you could see. I've just used one component as the home page here, and then there's complete authentication. There's like a navigation here. Then if I go to account, I've done the authentication with Firebase, so you could actually create an account. I've already done so. I'm just gonna log into my account, and yeah, as you log into account, here's your name, actually taken from the Redux Store, and all the things are actually displayed here, like your cars and stuff. Then, and it's the good thing about this clone is the persistence thing. So when I go on the home page, and when I go on the login page back again, it doesn't actually log me out when I refresh. So when I refresh here, it's refreshed, but when you go to the account page, it actually persists. So it's called something called persistence. So it takes you back to your account because you didn't actually sign out. So when I sign out, it's actually gonna sign me out, and then it's not gonna persist, obviously, as you see. And this is the account. So I've actually used the React router for these different create and login account pages. And yeah, I mean, let's just build this clone up. So I'm gonna be doing this from scratch, by the way. So I've already coded this before, so I'm watching my code on my other screen and gonna be teaching you guys everything what I've done. And this was the original website of Tesla. It's pretty similar, and there's like a sticky navigation thing. So yeah, let's just start. Let's just start building this. So I'm gonna go to my terminal right now. Um, I'm gonna use Redux, right? So I'm just gonna use the something called npx create react app template Redux. So if you go to just Redux here, okay, and you click on the installation, yeah, you see this. So this is if you see this part, it might be familiar to you or it might not be. So this is something called create react app, which basically sets up the folder structure, the default folder structure, and some of the basic installation for you, so you don't have to do it manually. And it's pretty cool. But I'm going to be using a Redux here as well for my so I'm not going to be using React context API. So Redux is something called a state management basically. So I'm going to keep my state separate to avoid prop drilling. Yeah, I'm going to be telling you guys more in depth when I use this actually. So yes, I'm just gonna copy this line here, go back to my terminal, go into my desktop. So I'm gonna cd into desktop, paste this line of code, and this thing here is just my name of applications. I'm gonna name it Tesla clone YT. This is for YouTube. I'm gonna press enter. Until it does that, it's gonna create a default structure for us, and then we're gonna go to Firebase. And you can pretty much type on Google Firebase, and then you have to just create an account if you don't have one, just a normal Google account. Then you have to go to console. Okay, you see this address, and then you have to go to console. So actually, wait, I'm gonna switch my account as well because I do not want this account actually. So it's my other account. So my PC is a bit laggy here because I'm actually recording this, and yeah, so it's a bit laggy, so bear with me, guys. So you see it's gonna download, still downloading for us. Yeah, I'm just gonna close this up. Yeah, so I've changed my account. I'm gonna go to console, and And this Firebase, by the way, is it's really easy. Like you don't have to use the MERN stack for fairly simple applications. It provides you a NoSQL database. And I'm gonna just add a project here. Tesla clone. You just name Tesla clone or whatever you want. I'm just gonna name my Tesla clone YT. Same thing. So they provide you something called Google Analytics. It has all these a bunch of stuff, but I'm just gonna disable it. And you see how fast this is. Like if you're gonna be using like something called MongoDB or something, it actually takes a lot of amount of time to actually set up the database, but this is really cool in Firebase. Actually sets it up, and it's pretty cool. The authentication, you can just do it. It's very easy actually to do the authentication as well. I'm just gonna press on continue. It's completed. Like, so you can then just register the application and stuff like that, which I'm gonna tell you guys, do not worry. So this is still not done. Come on. Okay, so you see this authentication. I'm just gonna go here and I'm gonna click on get started. So they provide you a bunch of different authentication, like the normal standard one, the Google, the phone authentication, the Twitter, Facebook, whatever you want. It's pretty easy actually to use it. I'm just gonna go click here and enable this and save this. And now it's enabled. As you can see, it's enabled. So now just have to write a bunch of lines to actually have the authentication kicking in. Yeah, it's done. Finally, we got this done. So I'm just gonna cd into the directory, cd Tesla clone YT, press enter, and now I want this to open inside my Visual Studio Code. So I'm just gonna type code insiders, because I'm using a beta version, so it's called code insiders. If you have the normal, you can just type code dot, and it's gonna open for you. If it doesn't open, you might need something called a shell command, which is you can do it with command shift P, and you can just type in shell command and you can do this. Then you're gonna open this easily. Just type in like code dot for you and it's gonna open in VS Code. So yeah, I have this right now, and so this is the default structures I was talking about. So the Redux actually gives you another additional functionality called the Redux Store, which is actually done for you, and there's something called counter slice and counter module, which are basically different slices in the data layer, and it's gonna feel really super easy. So don't get overwhelmed by just seeing this a bunch of code. We don't actually need this code here right now, so it's gonna feel super easy after we start doing it. So now I don't need a bunch of stuff here. So I don't need the logo, I don't need the app test, I don't need the setup test and stuff like this. So I'm just gonna delete them, get rid of them, and I'm gonna go back to my app.js. Because I deleted them, these imports are gonna cause errors. So let's just actually remove it. I'm gonna remove everything inside of my app. Actually, let me just make it bigger for you guys, so you guys can actually. Yeah, let me just make it like. Is it? I think it's, yeah. Let's just make it. So I'm just gonna remove all these things, and I'm just gonna have an h1 Tesla clone. Get my rocket. Where's my rocket? Yeah, let's go. Press save here. I'm gonna open my terminal inside of Visual Studio Code by just pressing Command J, and I can press this, toggle this out. I'm just gonna use yarn. If you're using npm, you can just say npm start. I'm just using yarn because it's a bit faster actually. Yeah, so it's running the application for us. I'm just gonna close this because I don't need this. Why is it open? Yeah. Okay. It's running the application. And also this, I don't need the so I don't need the counter here. So we're gonna have something called the user slice, which I'm gonna explain you guys. And I don't need this, and I don't need this actually. So these two files, I'm just gonna delete them. And for the slice, I'm just gonna move it to the features, and it's gonna ask me, and I'm just gonna say it's okay, just move it. Then it's erroring out. As you can see, it's erroring out, and I'm gonna explain you why it's erroring out. I'm just gonna delete this counter folder. I don't need that. So it's erroring out because inside our store we are using this import part, and we need to actually change this. So because you don't have the counter, I'm just gonna remove it. I'm just gonna save it. Inside my app.js, I have this, so I don't need this right now. Remove it. Now I should run, compile it basically. Yeah, as you can see, I'm just gonna refresh. Yeah, as you can see, now you see this this default margin, which I don't need. I don't need this default margin on top. So I'm just gonna go to index CSS. I'm gonna go down. I'm just gonna do margin 0. This is just like a pseudo thing. It selects everything basically inside your application. So yeah, and you see now it's gone. Boom. Yeah, I mean, let's just I just want to have a bit of a structure here, and I'm just gonna tell you guys how we're gonna have this. So we have the Firebase, we have the application setup. Let's just start coding right now. So this is the actual application which we're gonna build. So we have the header, as you can see here. Then we have this sticky. Now as I scroll through it, you see it's not actually moving the whole application now. This is just a scroll effect, which is a nice kind of thing. So this is like a sidebar kind of thing. This is the header. This is the header block. I call this the header block because let's say if you want to have this a bunch of more stuff, because in the actual Tesla website I showed you guys, we had more of these models. Like we had model X, model Y, I don't know, whatever models, and so we can just call them like header block basically, each of these things. But the naming convention, actually it depends on you, whatever you want to name it. So I'm just gonna say I'm gonna have a header, I'm gonna have a header block. All these will be components which you're gonna create. And I think we're pretty much oh, we need one more. Yeah, we need something called material UI and material UI core and material UI icons. So I'm just gonna download them. I'm gonna open a new terminal, and we need React router, remember, for the navigation through different pages as well. So I'm gonna say yarn add. If you're using npm, you can say npm install material UI / core material UI. Naming is super important. Yeah, and I need something called React router DOM. React router DOM as well. Yeah. So it's actually it will download all these things together, and I am inside my package registration because I'm gonna see my downloads here as it downloads. Yeah, I mean, let's just actually start coding and start building stuff after we are done with this. So I'm just gonna, so everything's gonna be super simple. I'm just gonna create everything inside my source directory because I don't want to overcomplicate stuff by making a lot of folders. Like, but you can, if you want to, you can have a components, you can have like a pages folder, then you can have like a login folder. I don't know, whatever you want. Like, so as you see, it's downloaded. And if I go here, yeah, you see material core, icons, React router DOM, everything's downloaded. Just start coding. So first thing, let's actually work on the header. Yeah, let's actually create a new file called header.js. I'm gonna create another corresponding file. Just gonna close the terminal, called header.css. I'm gonna be using standard CSS thing. You could use style components if you're familiar with them. They're pretty cool actually. And this, by the way, is a React ES6, ES7 React code snippet which I'm using. So there's like an extension here, something called ES7 React Redux GraphQL, this cool extension. So it actually gives you a bunch of stuff. So I don't have to actually do all these things together. So let's say if I want a arrow component, I can just type RAFCE. If I want a functional component like this, I can just type RFCE. So I'm gonna use. I'm just gonna import my CSS. I'm gonna say header.css, and I'm just gonna say class name. I'm gonna be using something called BEM. It's a BEM, it's a CSS methodology for naming your classes. It's pretty cool. Basically, you just have like 2 dashes here, and everything depends on the main kind of thing, this header. So yeah, and let me just open my header component on my other screen so I can actually see what's in there. So first thing, we're gonna have a header logo, right? There's a logo on the left hand side which we're gonna have. And you see how I'm actually naming this? So this is like the BAM thing which I was talking about. So header dash logo actually makes a lot of sense. Now so the logo is gonna be actually a link. I want it to be a React router DOM link basically. So I'm just gonna import that right now. Import link from React router DOM. Yeah. Then the way to write this link is actually, we don't use it's the same as this HTML link, but I don't want to use this because it refreshes when we actually use this thing. So I want to use my React router DOM link. So it's just like a component thing with a self-closing tag, and it has instead of having the href attribute for the normal links, it has something called to. So we're gonna have to, then we're gonna put 2 braces here, and it's gonna go back to my home page. So I'm just gonna do it like slash, save it. Now for so basically so actually no, it's not a self-closing tag, by the way, I'm sorry. It's so inside our link we're gonna have the image basically. So image is gonna be contained inside the a tag, just yeah. And then the image, you're gonna have a source. Now this source actually, I can copy it from my GitHub repo, and I've linked this in the description, so you guys can go into the corresponding component file and you can just copy it. There's no way of writing all this code again. So I think, yeah, this is the thing, this is the class name. Yeah, let's just go. So I'm just gonna copy it here, and image is having a class name. I'm gonna give a class name of header logo image, and as I save this, it should actually render over here. It's not rendering. Why? Because I don't have the header here, that's why. So I'm gonna import my header here. So you see this squiggly line, right? Because we have not imported this. So I'm just gonna go at the end of here, I'm gonna press Control space. As I press that, it actually auto imports it for me, so I don't have to write this line here. Now if I go back here, it should be rendering out. Where's my logo? You should not use link outside a router. Oh, okay. We have to actually set up the React router as well before before actually using the link kind of thing. So what I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna set up my router inside my application basically. So the way you actually do that is you wrap your application inside something called router, and I'm gonna actually import this. I'm gonna explain you guys what it does. So it's called actually browser router. Import browser router as it has an alias of router, and I'm gonna import a bunch of things, something called switch. And don't worry, I'm gonna explain you these things. This is really easy when you're actually using React router DOM. Actually helps you navigate between pages. I think it's yeah, it's all these things. So this router should be wrapped inside in your entire application. By the way, this thing I'm just gonna do app, and one more thing I'm gonna do is actually inside the app I don't need these things. I'm just gonna remove them. Save it now. Okay, so we have this right now, and now yeah, as you can see, the logo is boom. It's really huge. I don't need this. I'm just gonna remove this. Now you see it's like extremely huge here. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just close this. Just get into the header CSS, and I'm gonna target this class actually. So it's called header logo image. What I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna say object fit contain. So object fit contain maintains the aspect ratio basically. It doesn't stretch the image. I'm gonna say width of 90 pixels. I'm gonna say a margin right of 100 pixels. Okay, as soon as I do that, I go back to my, so you see the image now it's working beautifully. So it doesn't stretch, it doesn't do anything. Yeah, now I'm just gonna target my header logo class as well here, since we are in the CSS file. So I'm just gonna say header logo, and what I'm gonna do is actually wait, I'm just gonna target my header class first. My header class, I'm gonna say display flex. So we're gonna be displaying it as flex, and we need the position to be sticky, because when we actually in the original actual Tesla website, when we actually go down, the header actually sticks. Actually, let me just show you guys that. So this is the actual Tesla website. Okay, so when you go, as you see, when I go down, the header actually sticks. So it doesn't just disappear, it actually sticks. That's called sticky header, which I'm gonna be doing here as well. Yeah, so yeah, let's just do that. So position sticky is gonna make the header stick. I'm gonna give a z index of 2, and I'm gonna explain you this why I'm actually doing this. I'm gonna say top 0. So when you say position sticky, you have to actually say from where. So I'm just gonna say top 0. I want it to be left 0, and I want it to be right 0 as well. I'm gonna say justify so whatever the children inside the header, I'm gonna make them as far away as possible. And I'm gonna say align items of center. I'm gonna say padding of 25 pixels, and padding top, I just wanna change a little bit. So padding top of 15 pixels. Is it viewable for you guys, right? So yeah, now let's just see what's actually happening. Yeah, so yeah, this is looking a bit nicer now. So we targeted the header logo image. One more thing I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna say flex of 1 here, because I want the image to actually occupy as much space as possible. Yeah, so I'm just gonna say flex 1. And what else I need? What else I actually need? Yeah, let's just go back to our header, our HC header.js, and here we have header logo. So we have pretty much completed the header logo. Let's just go below, and let's have something called header links. So header links. See how cool BEM is? Like it's just so structured and nice to have this BEM kind of structure here. So header links are these things you can actually see here. These are all header links. So each of these will be actually a link tag, a link component basically. So inside the link, I'm just gonna type a bunch of stuff. I'm just gonna say model S. I'm gonna make it 2, and this is just gonna go back to my home page, since it's not actually a working actual. So I'm not actually taking it to the model S page. It's just gonna take you to the home page. X and Y, and we have something called solar roof, because it's Tesla, why not. Then we are gonna have something called solar panels. As soon as I save that, you'll see some links here. Okay, yeah, as you can see, here are my links. Nice. So these are the header links. Then I'm gonna have one more section, and it's gonna be called header right. So for my header right, I'm gonna have a link for my shop and another link for my Tesla account. So a link first of all for my, so it's gonna take me to slash basically. So this is just another one of these similar links, and it's gonna be called shop and I'm gonna have another link here, and that's gonna be called Tesla account. It's gonna take you to the account page. Now for this, obviously I'm gonna have a path here. So this is similar to href basically. I told you, right? So yeah, it's gonna take you to the login component page basically. So we have this, and we have so one more thing we have inside our header is gonna be the header menu. I'm gonna tell you guys what it is actually. So header menu. So header menu, and then inside the header menu we're gonna have two icons basically. Header menu is basically this thing here. So this is an icon. This is a menu icon. So as soon as I click here, you see it changes to a cross. So the state is actually changing here. What it means, right now the menu is open, so it changes to a cross. When I actually click here, the menu is closed, so it changes back to a menu icon. So I'm gonna actually, so I'm gonna have two states, okay, and these two states will be inside my app, inside my main app directory basically, my application file. So I'm gonna go back here, I'm gonna say const, and by the way, you can just use like use state here, okay, it's called use state. So as I press enter here, it's gonna actually, why is it, okay, yeah, as I press enter here, you see actually creates it for me. So I'm just gonna rename here. I'm gonna say is menu open, make this bigger, naming convention. By default I'm gonna say it false, because we don't want the menu to open by default. Yeah, I think, yeah, that's it. And now what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna send this these two things basically. This is like a function. It's gonna say set is menu open to true or false, and this is the state. So it's gonna trigger. It's like a trigger thing. So it's gonna trigger the state basically. So now right now it's by default it's false here, and we actually imported this, right? So you see it's actually imported, auto imported for us. Now I'm gonna do is like I'm gonna go inside my header. I'm gonna pass in the state. Let me just see if I'm doing it. Yes, I'm just gonna pass in the state. I'm gonna name it exactly the same, right? So this is the name. This should be is menu open. Obviously, this you can name it whatever you want. You can name it is menu open, whatever basically you want. And then I'm gonna say set is menu open to set is menu open as well. Yeah. So you see it turns yellow because it's a function, right? Now I'm gonna destructure this inside of my header, because whenever you're sending props, you have to actually use something called props here, and then you have to say props dot whatever you send, props dot is menu open props dot. But instead of just doing that, you can just destructure, which is a bit quicker. I'm just gonna say is menu open. I'm gonna say set is menu open. So yeah, now I'm gonna actually, now you see how cool this is in React. So what I'm gonna do is like I'm gonna inside my header menu. Let me just see what am I actually having inside my header menu. So where is my header menu actually? So right now I'm inside my application. I'm sorry. So, I need to go inside my header on my other screen. So yeah. So inside my header menu, I'm gonna have a bunch of stuff. So I'm gonna say on click. I'm gonna have an on click function basically. Yeah. And for my on click, this is like an inline function I'm gonna create. You can actually create another function and then you can call the function on top, but I'm just gonna create much quicker this way. So when I click on the header menu, I wanna change my my state, because it's right now it's false by default, right? So I wanna change it to whatever, because I wanna toggle this, right? So I wanna change this to whatever my state is, to opposite of that basically. So change it to whatever my is menu open. If it's true, change it to false. If it's false, change it to true basically. and here I'm just gonna check what my state is actually. So if my is menu open is true, if my menu is open, I want to obviously show an icon called close icon, and this is, by the way, a material UI icon which I'm going to be using. And if this is false, I want to show a menu icon. Now obviously it's gonna be squiggly because it's not imported from the material UI, so I'm just gonna quickly import them. Import menu icon from, I'm just gonna say at material UI icons, and I'm gonna say slash menu as well. Yeah, by the way, let me actually show you guys what material UI icons are. So material UI icons, so when you type material UI icons, it's gonna take you to the website, this website basically. So they have a pretty cool icon packer, as you can see. It's still loading. So yeah, I mean, you see all these icons. You can search for like menu, let's just say. This is the icon I'm using. So when I click this icon, this is still loading. Some problem with the website. Yeah, so you see when I click this menu thing, actually gives me the import thing, so I can just copy paste this instead of manually typing here. I'm gonna do that for my close thing. So this is the close icon, right, which I'm gonna be using. I'm gonna copy this, and these are really cool icons you can use actually, material UI. And I'm gonna be using this. So yeah, these are component based icons. So if my menu is open, it's gonna trigger close icon. If it's false, if my menu open state is false, it's gonna trigger out the menu icon. So as soon as I do that and go back to my website, this should actually, yeah, you can see it's actually working. Now obviously it's not aligned in the way I want it to align, which I'm gonna figure out. I'm gonna tell you guys exactly, because we have not done the CSS, right? So this is done. So the Tesla account thing is done. Inside our header.js, we have header right, we have a login, we have a shop, and we have a class name as well. So this is inside this, and this is, I think we are pretty much done here. So we're gonna have a few more things and I'm gonna come back later. So for the classes, let's just finish this. So let's just style the header links. For the header links, I'm gonna say display flex, and I'm gonna say so this is a really cool property of CSS. So what it does is basically gives the margin between the children. So header links is the container containing each of these links, and these links are actually the children of header links. So I'm saying display them as flex in the row direction, and then I'm saying give a gap. So as soon as I do that, you'll see they're obviously touching each other. When I say gap, it's just like a margin between them, but it doesn't give the margin in the last one, obviously, because there's no other children here. There's no other child here basically. So it's a pretty cool property instead of saying margin right. And then I'm gonna target my links inside the header link. So as I told you guys, these are exactly similar to the anchor tag in HTML. Instead, it's just a React router link component. It's pretty similar, so we can actually target the A, because when it's rendering on the website, it's actually showing it as an anchor tag. I'm gonna say text decoration to none. I don't need any text decoration. I'm gonna need text transform to uppercase. I'm gonna say my color to black. I'm gonna say my font weight to actually 500, and I'm gonna say my font size to 15 pixels. As soon as I do that, it's gonna look like, yeah, you see the actual nice. It's looking really nice. I mean, this is not, yeah. So now I'm gonna target my header right. Now for the header right, I'm just gonna say display as flex. because remember we have two things inside our header, right? As I say that, you see how this looks, and I'm gonna say line items in center, and again I'm gonna use make use of gap property. I'm gonna say 15 pixels as soon as I say that, have some gap. Now I'm gonna target my link inside header, right, because we had, yeah, we have two links as you can see here, shop and Tesla account. I'm gonna target them. It's pretty much the same, I would say. I'm just gonna copy this. You could go crazy with React, like you could just create them as that's why we style components is a library which is very useful in this scenario, because when you have the same styling, you can actually create one component and you can then just reuse it instead of just copy pasting here. So yeah, I'm just making it simpler for beginners, so it's pretty simple in this clone. Taxation of non-text transform uppercase, color of black, font weight of 500, font size of 15 pixels. I want to say a z index of 0, and I want to say a position of relative, because inside our links I'm just gonna target some of the things as absolute. Yeah, so I'm gonna target my header menu. Did I actually give the class? I don't think I actually did give the class of header menu. Yeah, I actually did. Okay. So for the header menu, so inside my header menu, as you can see, so I have this class, and inside I have these icons. Now we don't have any class, like we can't just give a class name for this. We can if we want to, but I'm gonna use so material. I have something called their own class names when I go inspect here. So they have their own class names basically. So if I just use this, select this, and you see this, so this is a material UI class name for the icon. So I'm going to use this one here inside my CSS instead of giving them a class name. Say .mui svg icon root, so it will actually target both of them. And I'm going to say position of relative, I'm going to say z index of 2, I'm going to say cursor of pointer. Oh, cursor of pointer. Yeah, and you hover over it, you see a nice pointer effect. It's pretty much finished. I had another thing which is called header link hidden. Let me just check that out. So yeah, let me actually tell you guys this. So we're gonna have a class name here, and we're gonna. So I'm using. So you see, I'm using curly braces this time. So what I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna use state here. And I'm gonna actually hide this when I open my menu. So when I actually open my menu, I don't want to show this, you see. So I want these to be hidden when I click here, otherwise these two would be spanning on top, so I don't want that thing. So I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna make use of my is menu open state. I'm gonna say if my is menu open is true, I want to trigger a class, and this is just a normal class, and I'm gonna make it hidden. Okay, I'm just gonna copy this, and yeah, I think that's it. Yeah, right, I mean, and then we go back here, we just paste it here. For this, I just want the visibility to be hidden. So why I'm actually using visibility and not display none is because if I use display none, what's it gonna do is it's actually gonna bring this closer, because these are all children, remember. So it's gonna, because these will be not there, like there will be no divs present here, so it's gonna bring all of them to closer when I click here. So you see how nothing changes when you click here. So when I do visibility hidden, what happens is like these are present, but it's not just showing. So you can just think of like their opacity is not there, right, but they're actually present. So that's a pretty cool effect. So when I click this, you see the shop actually goes away. Now I want this for the login as well, so I'm gonna do the same thing here. I'm just gonna copy this stuff here. I'm gonna go back to my login, and I'm gonna give this class name here as well. So as soon as I do that, now you'll see both of them should disappear. Yeah, you see. So Now this is actually complete, I guess. Yeah, so we have actually completed the header. Yeah, congratulations. It's looking nice and clean as completed as well. So let's move on to the app.js and see what do you want to work next on. So we have the header complete. We can work on the header block. We can set up some switch router. I could explain you guys what switch is actually, or maybe I could just set up header block. And oh, I by the way, I need the menu as well, right? So I want to show the menu here, right? So let's actually work on the menu. Yeah, let's actually create another file called the menu. So it's a component basically, menu.js, and as we create this, I'm gonna create another file called menu.css. I'm gonna use my RFCE, and yeah, so I'm gonna use this. I'm gonna import my menu CSS and give a traditional class name of BEM, say menu. And let me just go to menu on my other screen. Oh, so it's actually pretty simple, this menu thing. Yeah, so we just have a bunch of components. So we have another component inside our menu called menu item. I'm gonna create this, so don't worry right now. It's gonna have a prop called title. So I'm gonna show you the reusable component thing in Reactor. How cool this is. So I'm just gonna start existing inventory. Actually, you know what? I'm just gonna, so instead of typing this all over, I'm just gonna go to my clone here, and you guys could pretty much do the same. If you want to change the names, then it's fine. Otherwise, there's no point of just writing. I'm just gonna copy this stuff here. I'm just gonna go here and type this all in. Now, all of these menu items are actually accepting a prop called title, which I'm gonna destructure inside of my menu item component, which I haven't created yet. So I'm gonna just create that one right now. Menu item.js, and I'm gonna create menu item.css.js RFCE. So this is pretty much this. You just have to have the pattern recognition of doing this. It's pretty simple once you get this. Menu item. Let me just go back to my menu item. So inside of menu item, obviously I'm gonna destructure my prop which I was sending. So it's called title, right? And I'm gonna use an h4 to render out the title. So title. Save this. Obviously we need to actually get this. I'm just gonna go to the end of this and press Control and space on Mac. And where's my, yeah, you see this is the auto import thing. It's pretty cool. It imports everything. So now the squiggly line is gone, and I think it should actually render out now. So menu item.js. Obviously we gotta style everything up, right? And inside our application we gotta render our menu as well. So let me actually go to my styles for my menu item.css. and let me check what styling I have. So for my menu item, I just have a menu item rendered. So menu item here, and I'm gonna have a border bottom of 1 pixel solid, and I'm gonna have a custom color of D0, D1, D2, D0, D1, sorry, D0, D1, D2, yeah. These I just took this from the original Tesla website, by the way, so you can just pretty much go and inspect elements and just take it from there. Text align left and then cursor pointer. So it's obviously it's not showing right now, which I'm gonna render out on my application just in a while. For my, so this is for my h4 inside of my menu item. So I want a font weight of 500 and I want letter spacing of 0.5 pixels. I want text transform of uppercase, and I want padding bottom of 15 pixels. I want a font size of 15 pixels. I want padding left of 10 pixels, I want a cursor of pointer. No, yeah, definitely. I just keep on pressing going because yeah, it's not actually so let's actually render it out, the menu. Now it's not gonna look exactly the same because we need a bunch of other stuff as well. So so have the header block. Let's just remove this right now. So here what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna say, so if so I'm you see why I actually did this thing inside of my application. So now I could actually use this. So if I did this inside of my header, I would be in a problem of actually how could I actually use the state, and just sending, you cannot actually send the props backwards. So I was using this and then I send this inside my header. So now I can use this menu open. So if my is menu is open, so I'm gonna render out my menu component. So remember, it's a component, needs to be capital. Auto import it from source, press save. So it's only gonna show when my menu open is gonna be true. Yeah, let's go. So it's coming actually. Now obviously it's not looking the way we want to, but it's actually coming. So when we click, it's actually coming, right? And as soon as we click close, it boom, it disappears, right? So we have the menu now. Now we gotta style our menu CSS as well, right? Because we had the menu item. Now we need to style the menu CSS. So for the menu CSS, you have a bunch of stuff here. So it's gonna have a position of fix. It's gonna have an overflow Y of scroll, and it's gonna have a top of 0. So remember when I told you, like whenever we say position fixed or sticky, we have to actually say the top from where we want it. It works the same as position absolute actually, but instead it's fixed. So we want it from the bottom of 0, and then we want it from the right of 0, because it's gonna stick to the right as well. And padding left, I want 20 pixels. Then I want a padding top of padding top of 70 pixels. I need a padding bottom of 20 as well, and I need a padding right of 20 pixels. Then I need a background color of white. I need a Z index of 1. I need a display of flex, and I need a flex direction of column, because anything is so inside my menu, where's my menu? So inside my menu, I'm rendering each of these menu items. So all of these would be displayed as flex. Now I want them to display in column direction, not in rows. I'm just gonna change the direction here, because by default it's actually row. So, and the gap, I'm gonna make use of it to give margins between them. I'm gonna use min width. I'm gonna say 280 pixels. So it will have this width no matter what, whichever screen size it is right now, it's gonna have this much width because it's a minimum width. Now as soon as I do that, you see this, it's looking pretty. Now I don't know why it's actually not having. It should have a text transform of uppercase and a bunch of stuff as well. Oh, I might know why. So yeah, because we didn't actually import our menu item.css, that's why. Now yeah, as you see now and you see now, so it's actually working well. It's working pretty well. Is it the same? Let me check. It's a bit bolder, I would say, or maybe not, or maybe I'm just feeling because I don't have the image right now. We'll figure that out later. It doesn't matter. So you see how cool this is looking. Actually, it has a border bottom, and it's actually not. It's actually fixed, so it's actually not going down in the entire application. It's actually, now I want to get rid of this. This annoying scroll, but I don't want this. So I'm gonna go to. I'm just gonna search something called hide scrollbar W3 schools. And I'm gonna click on this first link here, how to hide scroll bars. It's a pretty good snippet, so you don't have to write it yourself. You just copy this, hides it for Edge, Fire, for everything, basically every browser you have. I'm gonna go to my I'm just gonna replace this example with menu. So how I actually did that is when you press Control D on this, it actually selects, and when you press it again, selects the same thing again. Now this annoying scroll bar should be gone from our website. Yeah, now it's looking neat and clean. So when you hover, closes, everything's working nice. So yeah, this menu is actually complete. Now obviously it's looking a bit boring because we don't have a car here. Like obviously it's not looking like this. We need to have this header block section basically to make it look a little bit come to life. So yeah, I'm actually gonna close everything which is saved. I'm gonna go back to my application. So I'm rendering out my menu now. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go back to app.js. Here I'm gonna render out something. Header block. Now I have to create this header block. So this is the main homepage kind of thing. You can name it whatever you want, but I felt like naming this so I could actually use it for multiple components for the same page later. Headerblock.js, I'm going to create headerblock.css. I'm going to do rfce, and remember always to import the CSS file. Headerblock.css, I'm going to give this a class name of BEM, and I'm gonna start. So always start small when you're giving the name here, and then you can use this camel case convention. Header block. Now I'm just gonna save it. Just gonna import it here. It's imported, and whatever I do, I would see. Now it's rendering. So header block. So let's just go back to my header block.js. So I'm gonna have a bunch of stuff here. I'm gonna say header block info. Yeah, a header block info, and inside my info div I'm gonna have header block. I'm just gonna copy this. I'm gonna have header block info text. Okay, now this is gonna contain some text for my info. So it's gonna, let's just say model 3, and then I'm gonna have an h4. I'm gonna say order online for, I'm gonna have a span tag. So inside my span tag, I'm gonna say touchless delivery, right? Save this. Now I think outside of my header block info text, but inside my info. So that's why I actually created this another div. So still inside my info, I'm gonna create another div called header block, and it's gonna be named actions. So actions are basically something called buttons or stuff which actually take you somewhere. So I'm gonna have 2 buttons here. The first button is gonna be having a class name actually. Now these buttons I should have actually used, oh okay, no, not this. So this is gonna be header block and header block button primary, and I'm gonna have another one. It's gonna be called secondary, as you guessed. Secondary. So button primary and secondary. It's gonna say custom order, and the other one is gonna say existing inventory. This is just exactly similar to the Tesla website basically. Yeah, so custom order, existing inventory. Yeah, I think it's done pretty much. Yeah, it's easy. Obviously it's gonna look boring because we didn't style it. Let's do our magic right now. Let me go to my header block CSS. Now inside of my header block CSS, I'm just gonna target my header block first of all. Now, so my header block has my info only this one, and which is going to contain my info text and actions. So here I'm going to say background, so I'm going to have a URL here. So how am I actually going to do? So I didn't have an image, right? So I'm going to use this background property because I want the image to be behind my text, basically, as you see here. So this is the look which I want. So for the URL, I'm just gonna go to my GitHub again. I'm just gonna go to my header block CSS, and I'm just gonna copy this URL. You could do the same thing. Copy this stuff here, paste this stuff here, and now we need we need something called no repeat, and actually this is something. So if you search on Google for something called perfect background image, so you're gonna get this CSS tricks website where if you go here, so he actually tells how to actually do this perfectly. So if you have these properties, it's gonna be a really nice background image. It's gonna make it in the center. It's gonna fix it so it doesn't have, and we're gonna add no repeat so it doesn't repeat. So you can pretty much copy this. That's what I actually did here. No repeat, center, center, and fixed. And you can pretty much read this so you can understand what it means actually. It's a pretty nice trick here. So no repeat, center, and fixed. I'm gonna save this here. It should be rendering right now. Now you see this height, right? So it's not responsive, like it doesn't have a height yet, which I'm gonna target right now. I actually didn't actually copy the other stuff. I'm just gonna click. I didn't actually copy the other stuff for different browsers. So it's actually really compatible, this thing actually. Yeah, I think now it's more kind of nice. So I have a background set. Now I'm gonna make it position of absolute because I want it to be behind my text. I'm gonna say top of 0. It's the same with position fixed, but this time it's gonna be absolute, right of 0, a bottom of 0, and I'm gonna say my left of 0 as well. Now you see this. So what I said is basically when I say these things. So before it was like this, right? So when I say bottom 0, so it actually works relative to its parent basically, and I think its parent is right now so inside my app.js I have, so its parent is gonna be the app, I guess, right? So it's gonna so it's gonna uh, work relative to absolute to that basically. So bottom 0 means bottom 0, right, left 0, and then top 0 obviously. I mean, if I say 20 pixels here, you'll see there's some spacing, right? But 0, it's gonna work the way it's supposed to. Oh my god, why did I open music? Okay, now it's looking nice. So let's work on the next. So now we have header block info. So for my info, I'm going to say display of flex. I'm going to say flex direction of column. I'm going to say height. Give it a height of 360 pixels. Okay. So now obviously it's not going to work the way it's supposed to, because I have to define 2 more things here, and that's going to be display grid, place items, center. I'm going to explain you what it does. Boom. So what it actually does, display grid is basically the same as saying display flex and flex direction column. It's exactly the same, but it's a shorthand of writing. So instead of writing flex direction column and stuff, you just write display grid. So place item centers actually places them in the center, as you see, sets both the align items and justify items properties. So instead of saying align items and justify item center, actually does both of them together. So it's a pretty cool property here. Just two lines of code, and it actually does it in the center. Now it has a height as well, right? So I'm saying a height of 360. Otherwise it would be completely, as you see, in the center. Now I'm gonna target my info text. So I'm going to use this info text. For my info text, what I'm going to do is I'm going to say text align of center, and I'm going to say flex of one. So flex of one basically is like so info text is inside my info. So I'm saying like I want info text to take most of the available space basically. So as soon as I actually do that, and you see what happens. So because it's a column direction, so it's gonna have more spacing in the column direction. You see, as soon as I do that. Now I just have these two. Then inside of my info text, I'm gonna have something called obviously I'm gonna have an h1 here. As you see, this h1 model tree. So for this h1, I'm gonna have a custom color, which I again copied from the Tesla website, 393C41. As soon as I do that, color changes, and I'm gonna have a font weight of 500. I'm gonna have a font size of 38 pixels. Yeah, did it actually? It didn't actually. Yeah, okay, it did. Okay, now it's looking a little bit better. Now I'm gonna target the H4 instead of the H1. Copy this line, H4. For the H4, I want the font weight to be 400. I want the font size to be 15 pixels, and I want the color to be another custom. So 5C5E62, 5C5E62. As soon as I press save, yeah. So this is my. Is my color actually 393C41? It's actually right, and 5C5E62. Yeah, it's correct. So now I'm gonna target my span tag, and for the span tag, I'm just gonna say padding bottom of 4 pixels and padding top of 15 pixels. So span tag is basically this. Inside my H4, we have this span which we're gonna design it a little bit differently. So a padding top and then a border bottom of 1 pixels solid, and I'm gonna say it black. Now for the color, I'm gonna change it to, actually the color is gonna be the same as the H1. I'm just gonna copy it and gonna paste it here, and for the cursor pointer here. So as soon as I do that, I think I'm gonna have this look here. Yeah, you see, so we have a border bottom, right, and we have this. Now obviously I'm gonna style this. So next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add a hover effect basically. So when I hover, I want to change something. So when I hover over it, I want to change the border bottom width. Not this border bottom. Border bottom width. Okay, so the border bottom width, I want to change it to. So right now it's like this is the border bottom width. So it's 1 pixel. I want to change it to 2 pixels. It looks a bit more thicker. I'm gonna change the color to black as well. Okay. Now you see, as soon as I hover over it, you see there's like this a beautiful effect of this, which I think our website has it. I think my padding bottom is actually is it? I'm not sure if I'm, because it's a bit more here. I think maybe I think maybe I need to target my font weight, which is 400 right now. And my font weight here I've not given actually. Is it because of this? Let's actually figure this out later. So now I'm going to target my actions. So actions are my buttons basically, the div containing my buttons. So I'm going to target that. I'm going to say margin top of 330 pixels. I'm going to say display of flex, because I want the buttons to be side by side. I want the gap to be 20 pixels. So, yeah, as you see, they are side by side. So because of the flex, they're like this, and I have a gap of 20 pixels. Yeah, so this is nice. Now I'm gonna target the buttons inside my header block actions basically. So I'm gonna target my buttons, both of the buttons. So I'm gonna say cursor pointer. I'm gonna say border. I don't want any border, so border to be none. So let's see, these buttons are very dull right now. I'm gonna take them to this stage. So I want the border to be none. I want the width to be 260 pixels. I want the padding top of, why do I always do this opposite? So padding top is gonna be 12 pixels, and then it's gonna be padding bottom, which I'll need a bit more, 50 pixels. Oh no, not 50. I'm sorry, 12 pixels. And then you're gonna say, so width is 260, padding top, bottom, and then we're gonna use the border radius. So the border radius is actually 50 because we want the buttons to be rounded actually. So if I don't do like 50, you're gonna see like they're square and like in rectangular form right now, which I want it to be rounded like this. Next thing I'm gonna target is the text transform, which is gonna be uppercase. Then I'm gonna say the font weight, which is gonna be 600. As soon as I do that, and I'm gonna say outline of none. So I just noticed something right now, and that's actually my font. So the font is actually not what I actually want. The font is different here. So you see, for me, because the font is different, so that's why everything's a kind of bit off here. So I'm gonna change my font. How could I actually forget this? So I'm gonna go back to my index CSS, and let me see which font actually I'm using right now. So I'm actually using this font. This CSS, I think it's in my app CSS. Maybe I'm changing the font family. So let's go to my app CSS. It's not there. I'm just having two styles here: position of relative and height of 100 view height. So relative we are giving because we have remember we had this header block position absolute, so we need some reference for it, so which is the application, which is its container basically. We're gonna position it relative to it. Is this one? Yeah. So for the font, I'm kind of confused. Like, where is the font actually? It's not in the. It's not in the app C. It's not in the index CSS. I think I think I did it inside my index HTML. I'm sorry guys. It's gonna be here as a link, I guess. Yeah, let me check that out. So I need to go to my index HTML inside my public there. So it's gonna be inside your public. So we're gonna change a bunch of. Let's actually change a bunch of stuff here. So you see this is something called a favicon, which refers to this thing, which is of React application right now, which we don't need this one. You need the Tesla one. So what I'm gonna do is actually I'm just gonna go to my repo here. I'm gonna go to public. I'm gonna go to index.html. So when I go here, you'll see. So where is the font thing actually, which I have here right now? I don't see the font. I don't see the favicon. So the title, I'm just gonna change the title to this. Yeah. Title is basically this thing here. It's this thing here. So the title is actually changed. We should have the font somewhere here. Let's actually change the favicon since we are here right now. So for the favicon but this is the favicon basically, the Tesla one which we need. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just actually gonna download this one right now. I'm actually gonna save the image inside my downloads. I'm gonna go back. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna delete this. Okay, and remember to name it exactly the same. So wherever it is actually As you see, it's favicon.icos actually should be here inside my index.html. Yeah, it's there as you see. So wherever it is, it's exactly the same. So I'm gonna delete this one and I open my downloads. I'm gonna drag this one inside the public directory. Now, as soon as I do that, now obviously I need to name it exactly the same as I told you before. So it must be favicon.icon. It's just the icon format. Now it should actually update for us in our website. When we refresh, it should update. Yeah, as you see, exactly the same. This is something that my font family is inside the index CSS. My bad, I didn't actually check it correctly. It's here actually. And the font is gonna be it's gonna be exactly the same. Instead, I have a font called Gotham, which I actually downloaded from Google. You can just go here and just type Gotham font. So it's a bit off our website. As you see, the font weights are not kicking in, and it's not looking good right now, like how we want to look. So you just go here. This is the link I guess I downloaded from, and then you just go here. Yeah, you just click here, you download it, and when you basically download it, you just open it by saying I think I might have downloaded this, right? You just open it by saying open with the font. Yeah, you see I actually downloaded this. So when you go here, you say open with first you do this, and then you say, where is this, fonts are all inside this. I guess you select everything, then maybe you do something like this. You don't need the text file. Oh my god, why my Mac is not, it's not working. So you just do this, and I don't need this, so how do I actually, yeah, so you just open them with the font book, and it's gonna download inside your font book. Yeah, that's I mean, you guys most surely, why am I even showing this? You guys should know that. Then it's gonna, that's the normal one. I don't need this. Let me just close this. So so once you download it, you're just gonna say a comma here and just gonna say Gotham. And it has every weight, so it has medium, bold, and everything installed on your system. Yeah, now I think now let's check our website. It should be, yeah, that's it. Let's go now. Now you see the similarity. Obviously the button, the color is a bit different, so I'm gonna target it. But you see pretty similar right now to the actual website. It's looking pretty good. Even this is looking nice now. The padding bottom is actually nice. Yeah, let's just go back. So we changed the favicon, and by the way, I wanted to tell you guys one more thing, which is that if you are developing the web application, obviously you will be developing for mobile and for tablets as well. You see these files, these two files here, you have to actually, and there's something called like a manifest or JSON. So I actually don't know much about them, but when I developed my own personal portfolio website, so what I did is I actually replaced these files with the so I actually use something called, I'm gonna show you guys this. It's actually pretty useful. I use actually something called Favicon Generator. It's actually this one. It's called favicon.io actually. This is the website. So actually use it. So when you actually you just get an image basically, and what you do is so for these, I'm telling you for these things, by the way. You see these little images here on the top. So these are called favicons actually, and these are different for mobiles and tablets and stuff. So what I do is I actually have an image for each of them, and I convert that image into the favicons basically. So I drag and drop. So what they do is actually they give you a full complete zip folder of. So if I open my downloads right now, yeah, I have this. See, so they give you a zip folder with this 192 and 512 image formats. So what I actually do is I actually copy them, exactly the same names. Remember, okay, the names should match in the React application. Logo 19 is like the names here. not the names like here. You have to rename these things to them, so then they work on mobile as well. It's a little something which I wanted to tell you guys. Yeah, now let's just continue working on our website. Yeah, let me just close this. Let me go back. Yeah. Okay, so we need to change this. Yeah, so we need to work on the CSS still. So let's get back to our header block, and let's get back to our. So let me just open the CSS again. So I have the button. Now we need to change the. So remember, we gave them the class names as well, button primary and secondary, because we wanted to have some different stylings. So for the button primary, I'm gonna say background color of 393C41. So color, I want it to be white. I want the opacity, so the opacity to be 0.9. So if I comment this out, so when you go here, you see in our original Tesla clone, right? There's a bit of opacity, so you can see the background a bit. Even in the original website is the same, so it's designed exactly the same. So what I did is right now you can't actually see through it. So if you give this opacity of 0.9, you see a little effect you can see through. Now I'm gonna target my secondary. Yeah. So for this secondary, I'm gonna say a background color of white. Now I'm gonna say color of black, and the opacity I want this time to be 0.8. When I say 0.8, it's actually a bit, yeah, you see, so it's a bit, yeah. Now it's actually looking much better. I think that's it. We're actually complete with our header block. So yeah, I mean, and now what you guys could do is actually, so why I actually didn't do more of these header blocks is because I'm actually designed them in a way that I've said for my header block, I want it from the top, I want it to be the 0, right? So if I render more of these, they're gonna come on top of each other because they're designed, they're coded in that way. So it would be a bit complicated to do. I mean, it's not complicated, but since it's a beginner oriented thing, so you have to like add some JavaScript here to actually manipulate the height based on the IDs of these header blocks, and that's how you could render pretty much each of these header blocks now. So you could have these header blocks, and you, by the way, you could have props here. So these things are hard coded, right? So you could send props here with titles and stuff. Let's say you want to send different models, you send some props and then destructure the props here and render them out here. That's how I would actually do it. Yeah, but let's carry on. Actually, let's get back to our app.js and let's see what else we have. So I think at this stage I should actually introduce you guys to Switch and some more React router stuff basically. So what I'm gonna do is after the app here, I'm gonna make a switch. So if you guys know programming fundamentals, you should know that a switch statement is basically like similar to an if-else statement, where we actually, it's like if else if like that, like else if statements. So it actually checks every condition, and based on those, let's say you have like 8 statements, so it's gonna only it's gonna check those conditions, gonna only render any one of these. So it's pretty similar to an if-else statement basically. Now inside these switch, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna so first of all I'm gonna create a route. So what a route is actually, so a route is basically the path of where you want to actually go. So inside this switch, you can't just have these components. You need to have these routes to be able to so the routes actually have something called a path. So when I say path here, so for the header, obviously header and the header block, we want it to stay on the home page. So what I'm going to do is just a slash. So this denotes a path basically, a slash, right? So this is kind of a condition inside the switch statement. So what I'm going to do, I'm just gonna actually wait, I'm just gonna include my header block and header, all of these things inside this route. And now all of the now this route, basically all of these things inside my switch statement. This is how actually I would do it. So what's this now imagine if we have the same things here and we have a different path. So if I change the path to login, let's say, now these things obviously not gonna be there, header and header block, but what I mean to say is like this is a different condition, right? So inside the switch is gonna check this condition if the path here, and what's this path basically? This path is the address, the URL here. So if I say slash, it refers to this the first one, and if I say like slash login, then it's gonna be taken to the whatever components we have inside it, which I'm gonna be actually telling you guys in detail. So that's why we use actually something called switcher. So switch, it's gonna render any one of these routes. So no matter how many routes we're gonna have, we have one more, two more, three more, it's gonna render any one of those routes based on these paths. So whatever path we are on, it's gonna render that route basically. Yeah, so that's what switch is. I hope you guys actually got this, and most of you might probably actually know about this. So I think yeah, so we're gonna have the route inside this switch, and I'm gonna, so now let's work on the authentication. Actually, let's work on the Firebase stuff. So after this route, I'm gonna create another route. Okay, and for this route, I'm gonna say the path to the login. Okay, and obviously now inside this we don't so what are the things we actually need inside the login? So inside the login, if I go to my finished website, if you click the login, we don't have the header, see? So we are not rendering the header, and this is exactly the same as the original Tesla. So if you guys could actually go to that website and check it out. So we don't have the header here, and we don't have the header block, right? We have this kind of a logo and this language tag here. It's not functional, it's just like a cool effect. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna create a component for it, and that component is gonna be called a login component. Now it's gonna obviously error out because we don't have this. Let's just create this login.js. I'm gonna create login.css. I'm gonna use my RFCE. You could use RAFCE as well, whatever you want to use. This depends on your preference, but either way it works fine. And I'm gonna say the class name is gonna be login. And actually let's actually render this out here first. Control space, auto import, save it here, go back to login. I'm gonna actually go back to my login. Actually, let's just create this. So what are the things you're gonna have inside? So you're gonna have a login header actually, right? So a login header. The login header is gonna contain a login logo, and inside the login logo we're gonna have another React router link. So I'm gonna say link, and you see auto import. Just press enter, it's gonna import it. Inside the link, I'm gonna have an image tag, and inside the image I'm just gonna copy my, actually we just did it inside our header, right? I think it's the same one, right? Yeah, it's the same one. Let's just copy this one and just close this and yeah, paste it here. So there's the image, and then we have so outside our logo, I guess we have another div called login, but inside our header language. So you see that small thing right on the right hand side, this one. This is what I'm telling you guys. So that login language. So login language is gonna be so we're gonna have an icon here, right? So this icon basically is a global icon which you're gonna get, and let's just get it from Material UI and auto just import it. So language outline, which I think it's an outline, yeah. So you see this one, As soon as I click here, I just copy this. I go back to my website. I just import this here, copy this here, and yeah, just paste this icon here. Now I'm gonna have a span tag, and inside the span tag I'm gonna write EN/US. Now you're not actually seeing anything here, right? Because remember, I told you, right, the path is different. So now we are actually on the home part. The path is this. It's actually this. So we need to change this path to login to actually be able to see that. I'm just gonna do that right now. Now you see, you still don't actually see the login page, right? So why is this happening? So it's happening because we don't have something called exact here. And what this exact, I actually don't know what what this exactly means, but it's you just basically need this to tell React Router the direct URL or something. So when I do that, you see this huge logo spanning all over. And why is this happening? Because obviously it's a login page, right? We have the logo and we have this EN/US. So now it's gonna show, and now see, if as soon as I change the path, so when I go to slash, it's gonna take me to the home page. And when I have login here, it's gonna take me to this login page. Now let's just complete the login page. So we have this login language. Now outside of my, I guess outside of my login header, I'm actually gonna create something called login info. So inside my login info, I'm gonna have an h1. It's gonna say sign in, and after the h1, I'm gonna have a form basically, and we don't need the action basically. So I'm just gonna. So in this video, I'm just gonna be using standard forms. But if you're a little bit, let's say intermediate to advanced, you know React pretty well, you can use something called React hook form. It's pretty good, but I just wanted to keep it simple here for this video. So I'm just gonna be using a normal standard HTML form here. I'm gonna be having a bunch of labels. First, let's just give it a class name of login form. Yeah, and then I'm gonna have a bunch of labels. I'm gonna say label, and the label is gonna be for email. And here I'm gonna say email address. And below this I'm gonna have an input field. For the input field, I'm gonna have an ID, a type of email. You need to say a type of email, so it shows you like an add attribute. And then we need an ID. So for the ID, I'm just gonna say email as well. And we need a value. So value is actually pretty important. I'm gonna tell you guys what it is. I'm gonna have an on change. So what I wanna actually do is like I wanna accept the event, and what I wanna do is, this is my inline function. So I'm gonna say accept the event, and I wanna set some states here, and these states are gonna be inside my login component basically. So I'm gonna set something. I'm gonna use state, and I don't know why it does. Okay, yeah. So for this, I'm just gonna use email. And I'll explain you guys why I'm actually doing that. So, and by default we're gonna have a null. I mean, we're gonna have some empty strings, right? What I'm gonna do is like even so when the user actually starts typing something, we're gonna grab that and we're gonna store that inside of our use state, inside this email basically. So that's why I'm actually using value is equal to email, which is actually referring to this here. So here I'm gonna say accept an event and set the email basically. So it's an on inline function, and set the email. Just let me check. Is it am I doing this right actually? Let me check. Yeah, we accept an event and we set the event to event.target.value. So you see this dot target. So this actually gets what the user is actually typing in, and this value refers to this value here. So whatever email I'm actually typing in, it actually sets that email to that value here basically, and then stores inside the state. That's what it is basically, yeah. And then I'm gonna have another label after this label, and I'm gonna say password here. So it's gonna be the password here, and obviously I'm gonna have another input for the password. So just let's copy paste here. For this, let's just say password. Now we're gonna have another state, and that state will be for the password. Obviously, just gonna copy it, and I'm gonna say password here, and this is gonna be similar password here. Yeah, by default is gonna be empty, obviously. Now we're gonna say set password here. Now this type is pretty important here. You need to have this, as otherwise it's gonna actually show when you actually type your password, but we don't want it to show, so we need the type to be password here. So it's and everything else is pretty much exactly the same. It's gonna take what user is typing and store it inside the state, so we can then use it later. Then after this, I'm having actually a component, a button component basically. It's gonna be called button primary, and this is gonna have some props here like this. I'm just gonna send some props here. This is a component, okay? So we're gonna create this. It's not actually created right now. Well, is it? What is it? How is it not showing me a red line here? I don't know. So for the name, I'm just gonna say, yeah, it's showing right now. The name, I'm gonna say sign in, and for the type, I'm just gonna say submit. So because it's gonna be a submit button, right? And on click is gonna be, so when we click the button, we want to sign in the user, right? When we click the button, we want to actually sign in the user. So I'm gonna create this button component. I'm gonna say button primary.js. I'm gonna create a CSS file, button primary.css. Let's get our RFCE, and let me actually go to my button primary now. Where is it? Button primary.js. Let me just quickly import our CSS file, button primary.css. Why is it actually having a space here? I don't understand that. Oh, because we actually named the, oh my bad. Actually have some spacing in the file name. Okay. You see how cool this is? Like when I press slash, it just takes me to this. Now I'm gonna give my class name, my BEM naming convention, say button primary here, and for my button primary, I'm gonna destructure those props. So those props are gonna be called name, type, right? And I'm gonna get my on click. And what I'm gonna do is here, so what I'm gonna do is, obviously the class name is button primary, the on click. So I'm gonna explain you this, what actually I'm doing here right now. So on click is gonna be whatever the on click function is, basically is gonna get that, and the type is gonna be the type. So we can have like different types, right? I mean, here if you see, we are having a button type of submit. We could have some other types as well, whatever type we want, you know. Or we could actually exclude this. I actually don't know about this, but we can have these as props, and inside the button we want the name of the button basically. Now I just want to import this, so I just press enter. I think it's imported. Yep, it's imported. Now we need to create this function sign in, right? Because it's not there right now, but now our button is actually set up. So let's go back to the, so I need to create this function sign in. Now let's actually work with Firebase. It's gonna be cool now. So I'm gonna say const sign in is equal to, I'm gonna say e here, and I'm gonna say So I'm gonna do something a bit weird here. You might not know or might know this. So e.prevent default, and what this is. So what this is, you can read this here. So what this basically does is when you actually click the button as a type of submit, right? So what happens is actually doesn't refresh the page when you have this line. So if I don't have this line, it's gonna actually refresh the. I can actually show you this right now. It was not defined. I think now it is. Yeah, it is. It's still saying sign in is not defined. Yeah, now I think it is. So where is the button primary? Where is the button primary? It's this one, right? So I click. I actually need to work on the styling first, I guess. Then I might be able to show you. I think it's this the button, but it's acting a bit weird right now. Let's just comment this out. See, let's just remove this line, and then maybe. Yeah, I think because the image is actually not. We cannot actually click this. So yeah. I'm gonna work on the styling first, maybe to actually make it a bit better, and then we could work with the sign in function actually. So let me get to my login CSS and actually give some stylings here. So my login CSS, I'm gonna have a login, and I'm gonna have a padding of 25 pixels. I'm gonna say a padding top of 15 pixels. Then I'm gonna say a height of 100 view height. So login, remember, it's a different component, right? So it has a path and stuff. So I want this whole login page to be of 100 view heights. I want to say a display of flex. I want to say a flex direction of column. I want everything to be in column. I want a gap. This is going to be a vertical gap because it's column, right? So 70 pixels. Then I'm going to target my login header, and for the login header I'm going to say a display of flex and line items. Remember our login header, right? It has these top three things, this and this, basically these two things. Alignment of center and justified content of space between. I want them to be as far away as possible, and I want the position to be sticky, not static. I want it to be sticky, and I want the top. Whenever we say position sticky, you have to say top needs to be 0. Now obviously let me just target the image quickly so we can actually see login logo. So inside our login logo we have an anchor tag, then we have it's basically a link which is an anchor tag, and then we're gonna have an image inside it. So I'm gonna say object fit of contain to maintain its aspect ratio, and I'm gonna say width of 90 pixels. As soon as I do that, you see. So now this alignment is not still the way we want it to be, but we can fix that inside of this login language which we created. Still, I cannot actually. So there's some weird issue happening there, which I'm gonna figure out. Let's actually complete our designing first. So I'm just gonna go back to my login language here, and for the login language I want to display them as flex. Then I'm gonna say a gap of 5 pixels. I'm gonna say line items of center. Actually done flex, and I think let's just see what center does. So when we say center, I think I do not know. So it actually brings it a bit more. So I said flex end here. When I do flex end, it actually brings it in the center. Okay, let's just do flex end here. Cursor pointer. I wanted the padding. So this time I'm just gonna say top bottom of 5 pixels and left and right of 10 pixels, and a border radius of 50 pixels because we want it to be rounded, and the font size I want it to be 15 pixels, and I want a transition here. So I think we're doing with the hover something, all 2.2 seconds. So transition is basically a little animating effect when we hover over it, basically. And then I'm going to say so I'm going to target my login language. I'm going to say hover, So hover is going to be, oh no, hover is going to be, so for the hover I'm actually using HSLA background color. I think it's an RGBA value, but I'm actually using it. So HSLA, I'm using this value here. I think because I'm viewing my code at GitHub maybe, so maybe it converts the RGBA values to HSLA or something, because I actually don't use HSLA values, but just use this value, it's fine. 50.2%. Then we're gonna be using 0.125. Okay, you see, so you see this beautiful effect. So this transition is kicking in and there's like a beautiful effect here. It's actually pretty similar to Tesla. Now I'm gonna target my span tag inside my login language basically. So form weight is gonna be 500 as soon as I do that. Yeah. Now let's move on to the login info. Yeah, login info is basically this div where we have the sign in and the form. So the login info is gonna be having a display of flex and flex direction of column and a gap of 20 pixels and a min width. Oopsie, what have I done? Min width here. So a min width of 330 pixels, so it's gonna stay at this width no matter what the screen size is, and margin left of auto and margin right of auto as well. So I'm doing this margin left and right of auto to actually bring this in the center. I don't think if it has any, yeah, it has an effect. So when I do this, so it actually brings it in the center, you see. And now I'm gonna target inside my login info, I'm gonna target my h1. So I'm gonna say h1, I'm gonna say font weight of 500, and I want the font size to be 40 pixels, kind of huge, and margin left to be minus. So I'm saying minus 10 pixels here. Yeah, so why actually I'm saying minus 10 pixels? Because I want it to be a little bit off, because on the Tesla website it's a little bit off to the, so it actually looks clean, it actually looks really nice, you know. So it's not kind of a bit dull effect like this, so it's kind of a bit off there. Then I'm gonna target my login form. Remember, we have a class of login form. I'm gonna say login form display everything inside the form as flex. I want the flex direction to be column, and I'm gonna target the login. So inside my login form I have the label, right? So the label, I'm gonna say the color for the label as 5C5E62. 5C5E62. I want the font weight for the label to be 500, and I want the font size to be 15 pixels. The padding left as well, padding left of 20 pixels. So label is actually this thing you see on top of this. So label is something when you actually click the labels, so they actually highlight the corresponding input fields when you click the label. So as soon as I click email address, you see what happens? Actually highlights the input. And for this to happen, you actually need to have this for thing here, email, and you have to have this ID here. So this ID and for is super important to actually have this thing. It actually focuses on it. Now I'm gonna say login form label. So I have the input field. So inside my login form, you could just give classes to each of these labels and inputs. I just feel like not just crowding my JSX with classes all over, you know. So for my input, margin bottom is gonna be 30 pixels, and the background color is gonna be F4 F4 F4. So saying it's in smoky color, and I'm gonna say a border of 1 pixel solid, the same F4 color, and I'm gonna say outline of none, and I need a border radius of 50 pixels again, and I need a padding left top bottom of 12 pixels and left and right of 20 pixels. Then I need a color for this, and the color is gonna be the same 393C41, and the font weight is gonna be 600. Let's just look at it. Yeah, you see now it's looking clean. It's looking a lot better right now. I mean, not exactly like this, because when we actually click this, so this is the focus state. It's not the hover, it's a focus. So when we click this border actually appears here. So I'm just gonna actually copy this here, and now I'm gonna target my focus state here. For the focus state, I'm gonna say a border of 1 pixel solid, and I want the color to be D6, 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 and the transition is gonna be all 0.2 seconds. You could have this transition inside this or here. It doesn't matter actually. You can have it here or here. So now look at this. As we actually click this, you get that effect, which is really nice. And even the password is gonna be hidden. This is actually looking pretty nice. Yeah. Now we're gonna focus on the buttons inside our login form. So we have so these are actually the buttons, right? Because we are having these things. Let me actually just check it out. Do I have a button primary? So I have a button primary. I have a button secondary as well, right? Yeah, so I'm actually targeting these things, right? Because these are buttons, right? These components have something called buttons inside them. If you go here, I mean, this is gotta be a button actually. It's not a div actually. Yeah, it needs to refresh. Yeah, so this is gotta be a button, right? Because it's not a div. So I'm gonna be so actually let's just complete the login.js first. So we have the form completed here. So I'm gonna go below the form. I'm gonna create something called a login divider. Divider is basically like an HR. Yeah, just an HR basically, which is a horizontal row. It's like a horizontal. It's like a border, horizontal border basically. So we have something called HR for that, and I'm gonna have a span tag. I'm gonna say or, and I'm gonna have another HR here, and save it basically. So the login divider. Then outside this login divider, I'm gonna have a link from the React Router DOM, and I'm gonna take this link. So we're gonna create 2 pages, right? We're gonna create a sign in, and there will be a sign up page. So this is the sign in, right? So we're gonna have another page called create account, which is gonna be a sign up page. So when you click this link, it takes you to create account or sign up respectively. So that's what I want to do here. So I'm gonna say 2/ and I'm gonna be going to my sign up page. Now here I'm gonna have another component. It's gonna be same like this, but it's gonna be a button secondary because it just has a little different styling. I'm gonna be using these buttons later in my build, so that's why I'm actually giving them as components, so I don't have to actually write them again, code them again. The name is gonna be the button name, which is gonna be create account. And we don't have these 2 things, right? So if we don't send these 2 things, it's not gonna actually render it inside the button. I'm gonna create this button secondary as well. So button secondary.js. I'm gonna create another file called button secondary.css. For the JS, let's just open RFCE. Let's just import our button secondary.css. Let's just give it a class name of button secondary, and we're gonna have a bunch of stuff here. So let me just open my button secondary now. Let me see what do we have. Yeah, I mean, obviously it's gonna be exactly the same, right? So it's gonna be exactly the same name type. So I'm gonna actually receive these props, but depends if I'm actually sending them. So then only it's gonna actually render it out here. Otherwise, obviously it's not gonna render out if you're not actually sending them inside here. Let's just auto import it. Now inside my button secondary, I'm gonna do the same thing. The difference would be the styling of these two components, basically the secondary and the primary ones. Again, my bad, I actually named it div again. It needs to be a button. I'm gonna save it. I'm gonna save this one here. So we would have these two buttons here right now. We should have these two buttons. Go back to login.js. A button secondary with a name of create account. Yeah, we have it here. Now it's not actually, we need the styling to kick in right now to actually make this look good. So let's actually give the styling for our divider, since we are on the login CSS. For the button, I'm gonna say background color of, so I don't actually, so if you're targeting the buttons here, I think we're giving this styling because we just have a little bit of same. Let me just check my buttons styling. If I go to my button primary.css, yeah, so we have to actually remove these. So actually then remove the styling source. I don't actually need them because I have components, so I'm gonna actually use them for my styling here. But I'm gonna actually style my divider here. So I have the login divider, right? So login divider, and for the login divider, I'm gonna say display of flex. I'm gonna say justify content of space between, and a margin bottom of 20 pixels. So this divider is containing three things, right? So it's actually containing our, where is it? Yeah, so it's containing two HRs and one span tag in the middle of it. So we're saying make them as far away. Now it's looking like this, right? Which I'm gonna make it horizontal in a bit, and we want to display them as flex and margin bottom of 20 pixels. So now inside my login divider, I'm gonna target my HR. For the HR, I'm just gonna say width of 40%. I'm gonna say height of 0. As soon as I say that, it's gonna be inline like this, and then I'm gonna do opacity of 0.3. As soon as I say it, actually looks really nice right now. And then I'm gonna target my span tag. So oops, what happened here? Okay, let's just, never mind. So I'm gonna target my span tag inside my login divider, the 500, a color of 5C, 5E, and 62. So 5C, 5E, yes, there. As soon as I save that, you see it's looking a lot better. And now we need to style these two buttons separately, which I'm gonna do it right now. So let's just style the button primary first, and let me check if it's actually, yeah, I think it's actually, the login is actually finished. Let's just go to button primary, so CSS, and for the button primary I have a class button primary. Oops, primary. The background color is gonna be 3E 6A 6AE1, 3E 6A31, 6A31. No, it's not 3-1, it's E1. It's not gonna be green, obviously. Yeah, so it's gonna be, the border gonna be none, and the padding is gonna be 12 pixels, 40 pixels. I'm gonna be having a border radius of 50 pixels. I'm going to be having a color of white. I'm going to be having a text transform of uppercase. I'm going to be having a font weight of bold, and I'm going to be having a cursor of pointer, outline of none, and margin bottom of 30 pixels, and a transition. So all 0.4 seconds. So if you have a transition, most likely you're gonna have a hover effect as well. The hover, I'm just gonna say hover. So I want to change the background color to a custom color of 3457B1. Yeah, so these two colors should be that. Yeah, now it's as you see, even we have the hover effect, right? So when we hover over it, actually so I actually tried the opacity thing, but it's not the opacity, it's actually the color is gonna be different. Yeah, then so we have the button primary ready. Now we just need to target our button secondary.css. For my button secondary, a background color of transparent and a border of 3 pixels solid, 171, oh my god, 171 820. Width is going to be, so remember, this is not actually, it needs to be spanning all over here, right? So as soon as I do the width of 100%, save it, you see how it's actually, yeah. So width of 100%, a padding of 10 pixels, top bottom, left and right 40 pixels, and we need a border radius. So the border radius needs to be rounded as well, 50 pixels. Text transform of uppercase, since I want everything to be capitalized. Color needs to be 171 820, and the font weight is needs to be 600. Cursor of pointer and transition of all 0.2 seconds. Ease and out. This is like a transition timing function kind of thing. So ease and out is just like, you could just maybe go to W3 schools or just Google it if you want to know more about these transitions. It's pretty simple actually. Ease and out actually starts, I think it doesn't actually tell you what it does. Yeah, so it's like equivalent to this cubic bezier. It's pretty cool if you know that. As soon as I save that, now we don't have the hover effect because I want to do that. It's actually looking pretty similar to over time. So you see, there's no, like, it's exactly like that. Now I'm obviously gonna have an hover effect. So I want to target this hover effect. Hover effect is gonna be background color. Let me actually do something. Okay, so 171 820, and the color needs to be white. So not wheat, white. Color needs to be white. The background 171 820. Yeah, it's clean. You see how beautiful this is. As soon as you hover effect. Yeah. Now we need to use Firebase to actually make it work. Like, so we're gonna do something like when we actually log in. So when we actually log in here, it takes us to a different, so see, this is gonna change actually. So it takes us to a different path, right? It takes us to a different page. So this is where Firebase is actually kicking in, right? Firebase, and we're gonna get the user, we're gonna use Redux. Yeah, so it's a pretty cool stuff we're gonna do now. And as I press sign on, it's gonna take me back to the home page. So yeah, let's actually do that right now. So now we have these components. I'm just gonna actually close everything and open my app.js right now. And let me go back to my app.js in my other screen. Yeah, so I have this login thing right now here. So I don't actually wanna render this login. So I only so what I want to actually do here. So what I want to actually do here is like, I want to use Redux right now. I'm gonna show you guys how to actually use that. So I'm gonna actually go here, and first thing I'm gonna do is actually I'm gonna rename, because this doesn't need to be a counter, right? We need to rename this to something more meaningful. It's gonna be a user slice. It's gonna gather all the user information. So user slice is gonna have the user state. It's gonna have the user. So I'm gonna change this to user. See, let me select everything. By pressing Control D, you actually select everything. Just keep on pressing and it's gonna select every counter here. Same word. And you rename it to user. So I renamed this to user. So it's gonna be, so user is gonna have an initial state of null, right? So by default the user is gonna be null, right? Actually, let me just open this user slice as well, because I don't want to mess anything up. So user is gonna be null by default. And these reducers, what are the reducers actually? So we don't need this actually. It's a JavaScript. It's a set timeout function which we don't actually need here. I'm just gonna get rid of all of this. This is super important. I'm gonna explain you guys. So what's actually the reducer? Reducers, if you have worked with the React Context API, you will know what the reducer is. It's basically like an action. It's it's an action to trigger the state. So this is not going to be increments. Over the counter, it was increment because it was in counter, so it made sense. So counter is obviously going to increment and decrement, which means it's going to increase by 1, it's going to decrease by 1 every time, right? But here we're not going to have this increment and decrement. What instead we're going to have here is we're going to have login, and we're going to accept one more thing called action. So what the action is, so action is basically to trigger this user state. I'm gonna actually explain. Let me just get rid of this first. And so here we're gonna change this user state based on this action, login action basically. So we're gonna trigger this state. So obviously it's not gonna be increment because it's not a counter here. So state.user is gonna be equal to something called action.payload. So what is actually this action.payload right now? I thought it actually gives description. I'm just gonna explain anyways. So action.payload actually gets, so when we dispatch, there's something called dispatch which we use in Redux, which is actually a very powerful function to actually dispatch dispatch an action basically. So when we dispatch an action called login, it's gonna have something called payload. Is gonna be the user information, like the user ID, the username, and a bunch of other stuff, which I'm gonna actually explain when I go into my login.js. So I'm gonna explain you guys. So when I click on the button, the function, remember the sign-in function, is gonna, everything we're gonna have that the Firebase thing inside that, and it's gonna make that equal to this user state, which is actually null by default. So this is similar to saying that we have a use state, and the use state by default is null, and these are like for example set the user to sign in, set the user to sign out, and we have a state. But this is a more this is like a production, this is actually used in production environments as a more much more better approach than to use that use state, because it introduces us to a problem called prop drilling, which is very inefficient in programming. So I'm gonna have logout, and I'm gonna have something called login, and I'm gonna have something called logout as well. So what logout is actually gonna, it's not gonna accept any action, because we are not actually having any payload there. So it's just gonna make the user to null again, because when we log out, when we log out, we don't want the user's information to stay there, to stay in our data layer. So this is like a user slice is basically like a data layer. So we don't want it to stay inside the data layer when we actually log out. So we make the user equals to null again. And then obviously I'm just gonna delete these things, and instead of these things I'm just gonna have login and logout here. So these things will be exported, okay? And this is gonna be user slicer actions. Now this thing is super important, and this is something which we actually use, when we want to use this user state. So I'm gonna be naming this select user, and it's gonna be state.user.user. So it's gonna go inside the state here, okay, inside the user slice, which is this corresponds to this, and inside my slice it's gonna choose this state. So if you change this user to user, I don't know, whatever, like ID or something, this is gonna be changed to ID, like that. So yeah, it selects inside my slice this state. This is what we're gonna, so it's actually selecting the state basically. So wherever, in whichever component we want to use the user, we're gonna use this function. This is super important, select user. And obviously we're gonna go back to our store right now, and what I'm gonna do, instead of counter, this reducer is actually called user, right? So I'm gonna rename this to user reducer, and yeah, this to user basically. And obviously I'm gonna rename this to user as well, and I'm gonna save it. So now we just need to dispatch the login action and stuff to actually store our user, so we can actually reuse that in different components. It's going to be very straightforward. It's not that it's actually, they actually build this for you, like, so I just renamed everything. I didn't actually created this from scratch. So this comes with that npx create react app template redux, which we actually used in the starting of the video. So if you use that, this actually comes with that, the app and the Redux Store and the features with it. So yeah, let's get back to our app.js right now, and the clone is actually getting bigger and bigger. Yeah, I mean, let's just work on this functionality right now. So what I want to do next is gonna be execs are there. Okay, so I'm just gonna say, so there's something actually I want to do here, but I'm not sure if I should do this before, or maybe I should actually finish the login functionality before this. Actually, let me just do this before that. So what I'm gonna actually do here is that I'm actually gonna select the user actually. So yeah, let's actually select this. So let me just show you guys that const user is equal to use select. So when you're gonna use this select user thing, right, which I actually showed you guys, this select user thing, what we actually do is, like, we use something called use selector, and we actually auto import it. So auto import from React Redux. Okay, so it's gonna auto import first, and then inside this we're gonna use this name which we actually define here, select user. So I'm gonna type this out, select user, and we have to import this as well. You see, it imported two things. We have to import the use selector. It's a hook basically. Use selector is a hook, and select user from that, basically this thing, the function here. So import these two things, and the next thing which we're gonna do. Why is my Siri opening up? Siri always does that. Okay. Let's get back to it. So I'm gonna use selector, select user, and what I'm gonna do here, okay, what I'm gonna do here, so this is an important part here. So I'm gonna check here that if my user, so this I'm gonna use a ternary operator again. This is similar to if else statement. You can actually use if else if you want. This is a much better way of writing code. It's just obviously just less code compared to if else. So if my user is present, it just means if my user is there in the state. What I want to do is I want to redirect. So redirect is something which we imported from our React Router DOM. So I want to redirect it. Okay, and this is a self-closing thing. And in redirect we can have something called to. Okay, and to is simply the path, obviously, and we're going to redirect it to something called Tesla account basically, which is like a different page when we actually logged in here. Remember when we actually logged in here? So if I log in right now, you guys are gonna see it's gonna redirect to this path, right? This is what I'm talking about. So it's gonna redirect. Obviously it's erroring out right now because we have not actually done something correctly. So it's gonna redirect to Tesla account, and if so we have this turning operator. So if the user is there, we want to do this. If the user is not there, then what we want to do, then we want to obviously show the login page, right? So this is what actually I want to do. So now these things I'm actually doing it inside my switch statement. So you see how advanced you could actually go with this. Because I'm doing this inside my specific route, I'm actually checking one more condition then. So like it's like a nested if-else statement, you could say. So if my user is not present, obviously I want to show a login component. If it's there, then I want to redirect the user to their respective Tesla account page, basically. And yeah, this is what I actually wanted to show you guys, right? So now it's erroring out right now. What's the error? Saying source features counterslice.js, but I actually renamed it to user slice, right? So what's the error right now? Why is it not working? Is it so? Why is it not actually showing me? Where is that? So error is inside my counter slice, but I don't have any counter slice here, as you can see. If I don't have any counter slice, let me just open my terminal. This is a bit weird because I don't actually have any counter slice here. Okay, it's showing me that the error is inside my features. The error is inside, but I don't have any counter slice here. And I renamed all my imports as well. So I renamed. Oh, you see this? But it's actually not showing me inside store. It's actually showing me inside features. It's a bit weird. Yeah, this was error. As soon as I save this, yep, it's working fine. Just refresh this. Yep. So obviously it's gonna show me the login thing right now because we don't have the user, right? We don't actually have the user. So I mean it's correct right now. Let me just go back to my login and let me just close this out. So I think yeah, this is what I actually wanted to actually show you guys, and we're gonna create another route for sign up as well because that's a separate thing. But actually let's work with the login functionality right now. Let me just go back to my login.js, and yeah, let's actually work on, let's actually complete this, and let's actually do the Firebase thing there. So now guys, I'm gonna use something called Auth, which I cannot use right now obviously because I don't have the Firebase. What am I doing? So I'm gonna create a file called firebase.js right now. I'm gonna name it firebase.js, and what I'm gonna do inside this file is I'm gonna so this was my project, right? So I'm gonna go to my project settings, and there you see there are no apps in your project. So I'm just gonna register it as an so you can register as an Android, iOS, or web. Since it's a web application, I'm gonna choose the web option, and I named this the exact same as I named it before. I need hosting as well, so I'm gonna register this application. And you need to do this because we need to have a firebase.js file here. And I need to actually do one more thing here, so I'm gonna open my new terminal, this terminal here. I'm gonna actually install Firebase as well. So you can, if you're using npm, you just have to say npm install Firebase. I'm gonna use yarn add Firebase. I'm actually installing Firebase as a dependency. And now here I'm just gonna say next. By the way, you have to actually do this if you're using Firebase for the first time. You actually have to run this command as well. So when you do yarn add Firebase or npm install Firebase, you actually have to run this as well. So you actually have to say npm install Firebase tools, and that actually just means globally. So if you're using it for the first time, you have to do that. I've already done that before. Now you just continue to console. Now guys, we are in so I'm inside my project settings right now, right? So I need this config file from Firebase. I need to copy this basically, and I need to paste this file here. This is gonna be firebase.js file. So let me just open it up. I'm not messing anything. And now we just need to import Firebase from Firebase. Obviously it needs to download first, so that's why I actually installed as a dependency. So if you go to your so I just use Command P to actually navigate between, so I never just scroll through this. I just use Command P package.json. So you'll see Firebase somewhere here. You see Firebase here, right? So Firebase is there. I actually yarn edit Firebase for that. Let me just close this, and now you see Firebase here as well, right? So import Firebase from Firebase. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna say const. I'm gonna say Firebase. I'm gonna create a variable Firebase app. I'm gonna use my Firebase. I'm gonna say Firebase dot initialize, and this is a function from Firebase basically. So whenever you see this here, so you see star and stuff like this, so it means it's a function from Firebase. So I'm gonna say Firebase dot initialize app, and I'm gonna initialize. So this is gonna initialize and set up your application inside the Firebase, and that's why we needed these things here, the API key, the domain, and stuff like that. And it's gonna initialize this config file. Now I'm gonna use the authentication module from Firebase, so I'm gonna create a variable for that, so it makes our life easier afterwards. I'm just gonna use my application, which is initialized right now. I'm gonna say auth. Now auth is obviously another Firebase function, and it's pretty powerful, this auth function. And since I'm only using for Firebase for authentication, so I'm just gonna import this as a default export. And obviously now there's something more to this, like there's like a DB module if you're using database from Firebase, and if you're using another provider like a Google or something, you need to have that auth provider as well. But I'm just using the standard one, and I'm not using the database. Database is basically this thing here. So if I go back to my clone, so it's basically this Cloud Firestore thing. So you have something called Cloud Firestore, and you have something called real-time database. It's pretty cool, Firebase. Now I can use this inside my login. So I can go back to my login.js right now, and we have done event.prevent default. Now I could use this auth, and I have to just import this basically. So I can use auth. Did I actually save the Firebase.js file? I exported and I saved actually, so that's fine. Now I'm gonna use this auth. I'm gonna say auth. Why actually I cannot actually. Let me just import this thing. Import auth. Now remember it's a default export, right? So import auth from. Now I'm gonna use my local Firebase. I'm not gonna use the global one, obviously, because I have this auth inside my local one. Now I'm gonna use this auth. I'm gonna say something called sign in with email and password, and it's a function given by Firebase. So you see this? These are all functions. Sign in with custom token, sign in with pop-up is actually pretty cool for if you're using any provider. Sign in with phone number. So all these are functions provided by Firebase. So I'm gonna use sign in with email and password. Since it's a function, I'm gonna accept something called email and password. And now this is pretty cool, right? Because I have this email and password stored inside my state. So I have this. So because I was storing this when the user was actually typing information, right? So I have this inside my state. I'm just gonna use .then since it accepts a promise. Then I'm gonna have something called user auth, and I'm gonna say now this user auth. So now I'm gonna use dispatch, which I was talking about, right? So this is just accepting the user authentication. Now we're gonna do a bunch of stuff with this user auth. You could name this user or anything you wanna name. I'm just naming user auth. then I'm going to use dispatch. Now what is actually dispatch? Let me just get dispatch first. So what is dispatch actually? So dispatch is a function from basically the Redux Store, and it's another hook, you can say, because it's called use dispatch, and you have to actually import it from React Redux. Yeah. So now I want to use, so I could actually just use this but I want it to be easier, so I just saved it inside a variable basically. So I'm going to use dispatch. Since it's a function, I'm going to bracket out. Now I can actually use my reducers. Remember those actions here, right? So these are those actions. So login, log on. Now I could actually use this and call them. So I'm going to call my login because I'm obviously signing in with my email as well. So I'm going to call the login action here, since it's a function again, and I have to import this as well. It's the same with the selector, right? So we have to import this as well. I'm just going to auto import it, imported for me. And now, so inside my login, remember I told you guys something called payload, right? So we were accepting two things inside our login. We're accepting a state, and we're accepting an action, and action dot we're making this to equal to action dot payload. So this is what the payload is actually, and it's going to be the email, and it's going to be the object. Now I'm going to use my user auth. I'm going to say user dot email, and this is just accessing the user slice, okay, and is obviously now is accessing the user state, not the user slice, I mean the user state, and email is gonna be equal to this user auth dot user dot email. Now I'm gonna have email. I'm gonna have something called UID, and I'm gonna say user auth dot user and dot UID. And by the way, this is given by Firebase. This is something given by Firebase. So the way to notice this is by this blue box, if you see here. So we are getting this from Firebase directly. And there's something called display name. So you could name this whatever you want. You can name this email address, it doesn't matter. But this needs to be the exact same because this is from Firebase. And then I'm going to say user auth dot user, and now this is also from Firebase, as you can see, dot display name. I'm going to save it. Then what I'm going to do, so what I'm going to do then is, after I dispatch this login action, I want it to, so I'm going to use something called history, and it's actually pretty cool. And this is another hook, by the way. So this is, I know it's a lot to take in if you're a beginner, but believe me, these things are going to actually help you in future as well. And it's just all pattern recognition, because I also started learning React about like 2-3 months ago only, so it's just getting that pattern recognition basically. So I'm going to use this hook, and I'm going to auto import from React Router DOM, and this by the way is from React Router DOM. It's not from the React Redux. So this is similar to that, similar to the path thing basically, which I was actually telling you, this route thing basically, but it's a hook basically. So what's it gonna do after the dispatch? I'm gonna use, since I have it inside a variable, I'm gonna use this history, and I'm actually going slow here. I mean, because I want you guys to actually understand this. This is really important stuff right here. So if you're an intermediate developer, so I'm really sorry because I'm going a bit slow here, but I want the beginners to actually understand this. So I'm pushing. So what push does is actually pushes this to a different page, and that page is gonna be called Tesla account page. It pushes to a different route basically, which is gonna be routes here like login, sign up, and stuff. So so if we dispatch the login action, then we want to push the user to the Tesla account page. That's what we're gonna do. Now outside, now we have this, and we're gonna check for errors now, because that's super important. So then so it's actually outside this. Then we're gonna say dot catch, and it's a function. So I'm gonna say catch and error, and I'm just gonna alert if there's any error dot message. This is what I'm gonna actually do. I'm gonna save all this. And yeah, here we go. It's our login is actually complete. So we're gonna sign in with email and password. We're gonna have the user auth here, and we're gonna dispatching a login action. Then if the user signs in, we're just gonna do history.push push him to the Tesla.com page, and we're gonna check for any errors. Yeah, pretty simple, right? So our login is, I think it's actually complete right now. And if we just have to create this Tesla account page, so we could actually see this in action right now. So let's actually get back to this. Let me just refresh it. It doesn't. Yeah, so I just have to create that page to actually show you guys. Now this create account actually doesn't have anything because it takes to a path which has nothing inside, right? But actually changes the path, as you guys can see. We need to create that as well. And let's actually create that first. So I'm gonna go back to my app.js, and I'm gonna have this. So I'm gonna have another route basically, and this route will be for the sign up, obviously. So I'm just gonna have another route. I'm gonna say sign up here. You could say whatever you want. You can say log into app, login. I mean whatever you wanna say. Sign up to application or whatever. I'm just gonna name it sign up. And exact remember to include this exact here. So I'm just gonna have inside my sign up, I'm just gonna have a component called sign up, and I'm gonna create this component right now. Signup.js, signup.js, and now I'm just gonna create another component called sign up. Not another component, I mean the CSS file. I'm just gonna close this. Okay, rfce import our standard signup.css and give the class name sign up and render it out. Yeah, so this is very simple. It's fairly simple, and by now you should be used to it right now. So it's just like a sign up. Now let's just create the, it's gonna be, I'm just gonna copy my login component actually because it's gonna be pretty similar. Just let me actually check what do I actually need to copy. I have a bunch of stuff here. I'm gonna have the logo. I'm gonna have a bunch of stuff. Let's actually go back to the login.js, and let me actually get this. Do I have the labels and the buttons and stuff like that? I have everything, pretty much everything inside this. Not this, obviously. So I just need everything inside this. Why is it? I think, yeah, pretty much this thing. Let's just copy it. I'm gonna change a bunch of stuff here, right? Now I could have done again. I'm just making it simpler in terms for beginners. I could have done some more stuff, so I didn't actually need to copy this and just send in some additional props for my sign up component, because it's actually gonna be exactly the same. And there's gonna be two more labels, I'm gonna get my, actually I need that as well. So actually I need the login, so I need these things as well, right? So if I see I have the email, I have the password, I have a bunch of stuff. So I'm gonna actually get, so I have dispatch history as well. I'm gonna get this as well. I'm gonna go back here and I'm gonna do the same. So I'm gonna have, so let's just import this first. Why is it? Sometimes it does this weird issue of it doesn't work, but it's fine. I'm gonna import this. I'm gonna import user history as well. So yeah, now I'm gonna have two more things here, and what are those things gonna be? Is gonna be the first name and the last name basically. I'm gonna have a first name, and for the password here I'm just gonna say first name, and I'm gonna have a last name here. Okay, what is this? Okay, a last name here, and here also I'm just gonna say a last name here. Now it's gonna be an empty string by default, but I'm gonna have two more labels here. So let me just import this stuff as well. I actually need them. So I actually need the link. I need the language outline as well. So I need these two things. Obviously I don't need the login CSS here. Use history is already actually imported, so I could just have done link here. This is from React Router DOM. Yeah. So I have the link, I have this. So I have the link, I need to change these logins to signups. So let's actually select all of them and make it sign up. It's gonna be sign up header, sign up logo, sign up form. Now sign up form is gonna have one more label with input as well. So let me copy all of this and let me actually paste this out here. So this is gonna be for the first name, and it's gonna be the first name. Let me just check if it's exactly like this. And this is gonna be a type of text. It's gonna be first name, the ID. Value is gonna be exactly the same as our state here. Remember, this is very important. The first name. Now I'm gonna set my first name, not email. I'm gonna set my first name to the target.value, and here I'm just gonna use last name, and the type is gonna be text, not email. This is gonna be last name, and this is gonna be last name as well, and this is gonna be last name as well. I'm just gonna save this, and I'm gonna go back here. Now it's showing me a bunch of stuff is not defined in 961.12. Obviously it won't be because I did not actually import that. But let me actually check if I have the button primary and button secondary, because I don't think so I have it here. So I have a button for create account and I have a button for sign in as well. Let me just check it out if it's like that. Let me sign out from here. This is the actual application. So I'm gonna go here, and when I go create account, I have these two buttons. Click sign in, I have this, I have this, and create account, I have this, and I have this. Yeah, so we could use these buttons, right? Because we did actually create them as button primary and secondary, right? Yeah, so we could actually reuse them here. Right, so I just imported them right now, and I just have to refresh now, I guess. And this is actually not, so I'm just gonna remove this for now, and yeah, now I was gonna say this. Yeah, now it should not error out. Yeah, you see, so now if I go to my creator, now obviously we need some styling right now, because styling is really not looking good, but we need to change the other way around, because when we click create account, we need to create account here and we need to sign in here. So we need these the other way around, right? Because when I click here, this needs to be the other way around. So this is pretty useful. That's why I actually created them as components. So I could actually, so now I just need to type create account here. Actually, yeah, I need to actually type create account here, and I need to type sign in here. Where is my this thing? Yeah, so I need to type sign in here, and everything else exactly stays the same. This just goes back to my login again, and everything else pretty much stays the same, I guess. I just need to style my signup.css right now. Now for signup.css is exactly gonna be same as well, I guess. So I'm just gonna copy my login.css, gonna go back to signup.css. As I told you guys, I could have done this with a bit of a better approach. Like I just have created one component, just add a little bit of props. But again, I want it to be super simple, right? So I just copy pasted a little bit of stuff. So I just wanted to have a traditional feel of using HTML CSS as well. Yeah. So I think I'm just gonna change everything back to my uh, all of these logins, and it's very easy actually. You see, you just select everything and just change everything to sign up. Yeah. Just press Command and D actually, so it selects everything and change it to sign up. Now I think it's gonna log. Yeah, so you see how easy it is to actually do this. As soon as I click here, it takes me back to the login. As soon as I click here, it takes me to the sign up, and these reusable components are kicking in since it's exactly the same. Oh, it's actually my real application. Let me check it here actually. Yeah, so it's a bit off here, but I can actually change that. Yeah, but actually it's looking the same, right? Yeah, so this is happening because we have to. So it's actually rendering sign in 2 times. So actually we have to figure that out. I click on sign in here. Oh, what the hell is going on here? Okay, but it's actually working. The CSS is actually working, right? So let me just go back to. Actually, let me just change a bit of stuff. Then I'm gonna figure that out. So do not worry right now about that. So for the sign up, let me see if I have everything exactly like this. So I have the logo, I have the language, I have the language hover, I have the language span, I have the info and the h1, the form, the labels, I have the info fields, I have the buttons, so I have the reusable components, and what else do I have? I have the divider, and yeah, everything's pretty much exactly the same, I would say. Yep, I think everything's pretty much exactly the same. It's exactly like this. Padding top is 15, height is 100, view height, display is flex direction is column. Yeah, I think it's fine. It's actually so it's actually like this, right? I need to change one thing, which is basically the sign in here, which I need to change it to create account, obviously, since it's not sign in now. Need to save this, and it needs to change as well. I need to capitalize it. Create account. I think now it's pretty much looking like this. Yeah, as you see, it's a little bit off still, and I think that's because if I go to my signup.css and if I go into my span here, not span, I think it's this, yeah. So I think it's my h1 inside my signup info, which I have to say 60 pixels. As soon as I do that, yeah, you see it actually. So yeah, it actually matches now. That same, and yeah, I think it's exactly similar now. Now one more thing is like the margin button. So I don't have any margin button here, right? That's what I gotta figure out. And how to actually do that is basically just go to this this button here and just give it a margin button, actually, this button. So how I'm actually gonna do that? So I think this I just want to give a margin button. I could actually say I could just go to my sign up as well, and I could just say padding button and say 80 pixels maybe. So it's not working, right? It's not working. The padding bottom is not actually working here. So I'm just gonna target this button. Actually, what I'm gonna do is inside my signup.js, I have a button primary, so I want to target this button. As you see, this the secondary button. And so I'm gonna, how do I actually target it? So this button is inside my link, so I can actually just give a class name to this, and I could just say so let's use our BEM, and let's just say sign up, and just say sign up button secondary. Because rather than figuring out all of this and nesting everything, let's just use a class. That's actually better. So for my button secondary, I'm just gonna use a class name, because I don't want to actually alter the component. I could just go in the component, but I don't want to say that for every, so wherever I actually render this component, I want margin button. So I don't want to do that. So I want only for this specific button. That's why I'm actually doing like this. I'm gonna say margin button of 80 pixels. As soon as I do that, it should give some margin button. Why it is not working? Do I need to say important? It is the right button, right? It's the sign in one, right? It should work. I don't know why it's actually not working, because it's a bit weird that it's not working. That's a bit weird, because when I did in my previous thing, it used to actually work. So actually figure this out why it's actually not working. So I go to my inspect tools right now, select this. So for the button secondary, is a button secondary, right? Do I need to give the link a margin button? Because for the button, it's actually not showing, right? It's actually not showing any margin bottom here. So if I say margin bottom of 80 pixels, yeah, you see it's there. So it means it's actually not adding. So it's actually not adding the class for this, or maybe I'm actually using a different class. Actually using sign up button secondary. But here it's actually showing me a class of button secondary. What's actually happening here? I don't understand. Here it's showing me a class of button secondary, but I'm actually using a class name of sign up button secondary. And it's a component, right? Button secondary is a component, so I mean, if it's not working like this, we could just say we could just say, so if I say, so let's just say this, let's just actually say this, let's just actually do sign up info. Let's just use sign up info, and let's just say inside our anchor tag we have a button, right? So what I'm actually doing is like I'm just let's just remove this import. So I'm saying so inside my sign up info, which is basically this, right? I'm targeting my link, which is an anchor tag, and inside my link I have a button which I'm targeting. So now let's check if it's working. I think it is working. Yeah, as you see, it's working now. I know maybe we could not actually give, so I didn't actually know about this, that we could not actually give class names here, but that's fine. Yeah, because I think it already had a class name. If I go to my button secondary, I think already, yeah, so it actually had a class name of button secondary. Okay, so it actually had a class name of button secondary. Maybe that's why. Yeah, my bad, guys. I'm sorry. So now it's working. So as I click sign in, now we have to figure this out. Why is this happening? It should only render once. So let's actually figure that out right now. But now actually it's working, right? So we can get the sign-in page as we click here. It's super annoying that this is happening. Yeah. So for my sign up, I think it's just working really nice. What I'm gonna do is actually gonna go back here, and yeah, this is the thing. Why actually am I rendering this again? That's the thing. There was a problem. Yeah. So I only want to render my login if I don't have the user. If I have the user, I want to render the Tesla account, which is a component which you actually have to create. So now it's not gonna happen. Yeah, as you see, it's gone. Now it's pretty much identical. Now we just want to work with the sign up functionality as well as we did with the login one. Sign up one is a bit different. We're gonna, instead of saying sign in with email and password, we're gonna use something called create user, obviously. So what I'm gonna actually do inside my sign up, let me just go inside my sign up first, and here where we had the sign up, where is it gone? Where we had this button. So this button, right, the button primary, we're gonna have an on click. So the on click, remember we are accepting props inside our button. So inside our button primary JS, we're accepting the on clicks and types, right? So this is why it's pretty useful. Now I'm gonna say sign up here, and it's gonna be a function here. So on click, and it's gonna be sign up, right? And sign up is actually gonna be, this is gonna be camel case. I'm gonna create this function now. So inside my sign up, I'm gonna have sign up. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do this. And what I'm gonna do is first of all, I'm gonna accept an event. I'm gonna do the same thing so it actually doesn't refresh. So event.prevent default, and this is actually super important, guys. If you don't do this, your app is gonna not gonna work accordingly. So this line is really important. You have to do this. And I'm just gonna do a bunch of checking stuff right now. So I'm using the traditional if-else statements. I'm checking if the user doesn't enter a first name. I want to return an alert. Saying that please enter a first name. This is optional if you want to check this. Like, I mean, you could go crazy with this. You could use rejects and stuff. I mean, there's like a bunch of stuff which you could do here for password and stuff like that. But I'm not gonna go crazy here, and just do it really simply like this. Return alert, and yeah, I could just have copied, but I'm actually writing it again. So please, instead of saying first, I'm just gonna say last this time. Yeah, so this is done. Now inside my sign up, obviously, but I'm gonna use auth again. So auth is actually pretty useful. I'm gonna auto import it. So it's imported from our local Firebase. And I'm gonna use dot. This time I'm just gonna say create user, because this is sign up, right? It's not login. So I'm not gonna say sign in, I'm saying create user. So when we actually create user, we do the same thing. We accept email and password, which we got from the user. Then we said dot then, and again I'm just naming this user auth. You could just name it whatever you want. And then I'm gonna say user auth dot user. So dot user is from the Firebase. Remember, I told you guys, right? Now, the Firebase actually gives you something called update profile, which is actually pretty useful. So it's like a function. So update profile is gonna accept an object display name. Okay. What I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna say first name here. Okay, because I want the display name to be equal to the first name. You could do something like first name last name, probably here. Okay, and maybe if you want to make it equal to last name, but I just want to make it equal to the first name. So whatever the first name the user enters, then I'm gonna do dot then. and I'm just gonna say now here's the part I'm gonna use dispatch again. So obviously to use dispatch you need this, which I actually copied it from my login.js. So I'm gonna use dispatch, and remember, like whenever you're actually creating a user and signing up the user, first thing you do is you do something like you do something like update profile, and then you have to log in the user in order to be actually creating an account. You have to dispatch an action called login as well. Now I'm dispatching an action called login here. Now since it's a function, I need to actually import this first. So from the user slice I imported it, and again it's gonna accept the payload, right? So the payload, so we're gonna say the payload, and it's gonna be pretty similar here. As you see, it's like just that pattern recognition, and this user is from the Firebase email, we get it from the Firebase, right? And I'm just gonna actually copy this right now. Okay, I'm gonna say UID here and just say UID here, and I'm gonna say display name. So this time the display name is gonna be, again, is gonna be the first name of the user. Now when you do this like successfully, what we're gonna actually do, I'm just gonna save it first, and what we're actually gonna do right now is that after the dispatch, you see dispatch ends here, I'm gonna use history again. So I'm gonna say history.push again. I'm gonna push this to the Tesla account, because when we create an account we want to do the same thing. We don't want to take the user to login. So you could do something like login here, which actually takes the user to login. So when you create, so there are some websites and web application which has this functionality that when you actually create an account, it actually takes you to the login page rather than actually signing you into the application. So you could use login here, but I'm just gonna push it to my accounts because the user has actually created an account. Then after this then ends, basically I'm gonna check for errors. So it ends here, and it's actually this one, sorry, not that. So it's actually this one. So it ends here. So I'm just gonna catch for errors if there are any errors, and if there are, I'm just gonna alert error dot message. It's pretty similar to the login, to be honest, but we just do just a bunch of extra steps here. And yeah, I mean that's it. We are done with this. So this is how simple the authentication is with Firebase. So we just use a bunch of lines. This is that much. That's it. And we just gotta create this now, the Tesla account thing, and it's gonna actually log us into the application. Yeah, let me just check if anything is missing. No, everything is pretty much done here. So obviously it's not gonna show right now anything, but it's changing pages really nicely. There's no weird things happening, right? Yeah, it's pretty smooth now. So now let's get back to our starting point, which is application.js, this thing here. So we have the sign up, and we're gonna have another route for the Tesla account, right? I think that's gonna be our final route. Yeah, that's actually gonna be our final route, and we are actually complete with the Tesla clone. So I'm gonna have a route. I'm gonna say exact. Exact. I'm gonna say path, and the path is gonna take me to Tesla account. Okay, it's a component which we're gonna create, so don't worry about this. So now here we have to have another ternary operator. I'm gonna explain why. And it's gonna be the same thing, right? It's gonna be actually the same thing. So we don't wanna actually show the Tesla account page if the user is actually logged in. So that's why we need that persistence thing as well, right? So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna do this same thing here, and I'm gonna say if the user is there, I wanna redirect to login. If the user is actually not there, then I'm actually gonna redirect it. So I can actually redirect it to sign up as well, but I'm gonna say login because in Tesla's clone actually it takes you to the login page, and then you could actually move to the sign up if you don't have an account. So I'm just gonna remove this. I'm gonna have brackets here, and now I'm just gonna create a Tesla account component here. Here's my component. Now this component is gonna have a bunch of stuff. So it's gonna have something called isMenuOpen. Remember, which we created it before. And I'm gonna explain you guys why we actually need that. So isMenuOpen, and we need to set obviously this one as well. Set isMenuOpen as well. We need to send this as well. And I think that's it. So we just need to create this first, obviously. Now what else actually we have? So we have menu open and menu. So we're actually having this, and then we're gonna say the same thing here as we did this. Okay, so I'm gonna explain this what actually I'm actually doing here right now. So don't actually worry about this right now. And why it's erroring out is because when we have, so here when we use JSX curly braces, we need to use, and we need to have a parent div basically. So for everything we need to have a parent thing. So I'm just gonna use something called JSX fragment, and I'm gonna wrap everything inside my fragment here, so it doesn't error out then. So that's there. Let's just create this Tesla account first. I'm gonna explain these things why I actually did that, because we actually need the menu inside our Tesla account as well, which is a different page basically. So Tesla account.js, and inside the source I'm gonna create Tesla account.css or RFCE. I'm gonna have a class name. Class name is gonna be Tesla account. Let's get back our, so let me actually just open this first. Let's get our, and let me open the CSS file as well on my other screen. Tesla account CSS. I have the Tesla account here, and we're gonna have, so let's just actually render it, and let's just actually create that first. Tesla account, yeah. Actually it makes sense to use it. And yeah, we're gonna have a bunch of stuff here. So we're gonna say Tesla account. So I actually named this a bit longer because I wanted it to look exactly like so if you go to actual Tesla's website, you're gonna actually see that they actually, when you actually log in into the actual website, they actually take you to a route called Tesla. So I wanted to make it actually realistic, so that's why I named it Tesla. You could name it smaller as well, you know. So Tesla account header, then we're gonna have a Tesla account logo inside my header. Now this is gonna be the pretty much same thing. Link. Then we're gonna have an image inside the link, and that image is gonna be the same image as we use inside our app.js, right? I'm sorry, I've used inside our header.js. Let me just copy it, and let me just paste it here. Yeah, this link we need to import it from DOM. This is done. We need to go outside this logo, and we need to create Tesla account links. Now what I'm actually doing is it's actually the pretty same as the header, but this is a bit different because let me actually show you guys. So when I actually log in, right? So when I actually go to that page, so when I actually log in, and go to this page, you see the header. It's pretty similar, but it's actually black, and the logo is actually white. It's not black. The background is black, and everything inside the header is actually white. And we need this menu thing, so that's why I actually rendered the menu inside my app.js. So when I did this thing here, is menu open. So that's why I actually did that, because I need the menu here as well, you see. So yeah, we're gonna actually, right now we're actually creating this page, and we're gonna create this reusable component as well, so we can have as many cars as we want. So yeah, let's just create this. So we have to have the Tesla account links. So inside the links, I'm gonna have a bunch of stuff. It's actually gonna be exactly similar like the header. I'm just gonna go back here. I'm gonna copy these things. Go back here. I'm gonna copy it here. Now the only difference gonna be here, it will be this thing. So the path. So path is gonna be Tesla. So how I actually did this is I actually pressed Alt and I selected multiple cursors. So when let's say you're here, and if you just keep the Alt pressed and then select anywhere you want to be, like this. And this is gonna be exactly similar. It's just gonna have a bunch of other stuff. It's gonna have a shop, a Tesla account as well. So it's gonna have a shop, and then it's gonna have a Tesla account. Then it's gonna have another link. This is a link, the logout, right? Because it's gonna look exactly similar, but it's gonna have one thing. It's not gonna have two here. Now it's gonna have something on click, and inside this on click, I'm gonna use this function called logout of app. It's actually when you click this, and it's so simple to actually log out using Firebase. And then after the link ends, I'm gonna have a div called Tesla account menu. It's gonna be exactly similar to the one which we had before. So you're gonna have an on click here, and the on click is gonna be an inline function, and it's just gonna say set is menu open. Set is menu open. So we need to actually destructure this. Set is menu open, right? Because we sent it as prop, remember? And we need to get the is menu open as well, right? So we need to get is menu open as well, and we're gonna set this to whatever is menu open is, and to the opposite of that. It's pretty similar stuff we're actually doing here. So now we're done with this. What I'm gonna do inside my div is exactly the same thing we did in the header. So I'm just gonna go into the header. Actually, I'm just gonna get this. I'm just gonna paste this out here, and I'm just gonna use these imports and paste this out here as well. Yeah, so it's pretty similar stuff. Now how do I actually see? So the way to actually see this is obviously to actually log in first. And now I'm gonna be showing you guys a Redux dev tool basically, which is pretty cool actually. Let me just create this quickly, otherwise it's gonna error out. So log out of, is it log out small or log out bigger? Okay, so let me just create this first. So yeah, now it's not gonna error out or anything. I'm gonna be showing you guys Redux dev tool. So when you go to the inspector tools, I have this Redux dev tool that is pretty cool actually, which I'm gonna be showing you guys. And you can actually download this by just going to Google and just typing in Redux dev tools. So Redux actually gives you this, and you go to this Chrome and go here, and it's just an extension basically, and you just download it. It's pretty cool, and it actually tells you the states and stuff like that. So obviously state is gonna be null right now because we don't have any user here, so user is gonna be null, right? Now I'm gonna be showing you guys these things. So let's just go on sign in. Yeah, so we actually need to sign in in order to be able to actually see this page right now, because we wouldn't be able to actually see this page if we let's just try using the address method, and let's see what happens. So it's showing us now. It's showing us because I didn't actually do one step, and this is actually not a good practice. Like if I go into the actual website, I don't think if I signed out it's gonna show me that. If I go to Tesla account, you see what happens? So it actually redirects me back to the sign in page. So it actually doesn't, so it's like a security measure, right? Obviously I don't have the user, right? So how can it actually take me to a Tesla account? So this is what I'm actually gonna figure out. So it should not actually take me to the, but actually right now we could actually see this, like what's going on here. But in the actual application we will not have that. So yeah, let's just do this. And then what else we have? So we have a bunch of stuff. We have Tesla account info as well. So I think the header is complete. So outside the header, I guess we're gonna have Tesla account info. It's gonna be a div again. So this is gonna be div, and it's gonna be so this is gonna have something called Tesla account person div, and this is gonna have an h4. Now here's when we are going to use the selector actually. Remember I told you guys about the selector thing. So how do you actually use that is you say user and use that hook, basically use selector hook, which React Redux actually gives you, and then you import the selector from it, select user. So I'm gonna be doing some pretty cool stuff here. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be using optional chaining here. So I'm going to be saying if the user is there, then obviously take the user and actually give me the display name for the user. So remember we had something. So when we actually created when we created the account, we had something called display name from Firebase. Let me show you guys that. And what we did is we basically said that we want our display name to be equal to the first name. So the first name which user actually enters. So now we have that stored inside our state. We have that stored inside our state, right? So what I'm actually doing here, inside my Redux, basically inside my Redux store, what I'm actually doing here right now is I'm saying the user, I want to access that display name. So give me the display name. That just means the first name basically. And what I'm doing here is that I want to add like a s here basically. So you see what this is doing is when we actually sign in. So when I actually sign in, it's adding an s at the end of the first name. So that's what I want to do here. Okay, so you see now it's saying undefined because obviously there's no user right now. So I have this. Now I'm just gonna have another. So I'm gonna have another div. I'm gonna say Tesla account info, and this is gonna be the right one. I'm gonna say info right. So info right is gonna have a bunch of links. Okay, and these links are not functional links, obviously, but I'm gonna have these links. Say account here. I'm just gonna say history here. And I'm gonna say, yeah, so this is gonna be the sign out link. So we have two sign out links basically. So I have this sign out here and we have this log out here. These two links are gonna pretty much do the same stuff, right? And I'm gonna have an on click with the same function here basically. I'm gonna say log out of F. But we have in the actual Tesla website, we have these two links basically. I have the logout and we have the sign out link as separate. Now outside this div, the info right, I'm gonna have let's see what we have. So is it outside of info? I think it's actually outside of info because you have the link ending here and we have this and this. So it's actually outside of info. So I'm gonna have another div called Tesla account. Now this div is gonna be for the car, where we actually gonna render the car image. Now here's a cool thing. Now what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna use another reusable component. So I told you, right? So this car is gonna be a component. This car is gonna be a component. since we have pretty much the same stuff here, you see this and this is actually pretty much exactly the same, right? So we can have as many cars we want without actually coding them again and again. So I'm going to say car, and I'm going to say this. So this is going to accept a bunch of props now. So the first prop is going to be the image source, which is going to contain the image URL. Then there's going to be the model, right? So for the model is going to be the model S. And I'm going to have another feature of test drive here. Now what's this test drive? So this test drive is basically this option here. So if the test drive is available for the car, we could just say test drive here as a prop, and then I could render this button based on that condition. It's pretty cool, and I'm gonna actually show you guys that. So here we don't have the test drive, so the test drive button is not actually rendering. Here we have it, so we are actually rendering that. So for the second car, I'm not gonna have this test drive, as you see. And it's going to be model X. I'm going to have, so these image sources, I'm just going to go back to my GitHub, and I'm just going to go back to my Tesla account.js. Inside my source, let's get to my Tesla account.js, and let's get to this part where I have these two images. So let me copy this image, and let me copy this image as well. Okay. Now we need to create the car component since we don't have this component. I'm just going to create new file, car.js, and another file, car.css, rfce, and I'm going to say import car.css, and I'm going to say the class name of car, and just render it out. So just render it out. Auto import. Now these two things must be, and let's just quickly actually destructure this. So I have the image source, we have the model, and we have the test drive option. It's like an option, test drive option. So we have these three things. We destructured them. Now let me go back to my car.js and let's see what are the things we have inside this. So inside the div, we have a car image, right? Car image. Oops, I just spelled this wrong. So car image is gonna have an image tag. Now why is it not okay? The image tag, and the source is gonna be the image source, right? And all you can pretty much say the model basically. Okay. Then you're just gonna say yeah, so that's it. That's the image, and after the image I'm just gonna have an h2 is gonna have a class name, and the class name is gonna be car model, and here we're gonna render the model out. And then we have another, so now here we're gonna have a car actions. Remember I told you guys actions actually means like some links or some buttons or stuff like that. It's basically called like CTA buttons, you know, it's like call to action buttons and stuff. So I'm gonna have, so remember I created something called button primary, right? So I'm gonna use that component, right? So you see how useful it is to actually create these components so you can use them again. So button primary, and for the button primary, I had those props, right? So name is gonna be order here. Now here's the cool thing. Now this test drive thing, which I was sending as a prop. So for my button secondary, I'm gonna use this condition. So I'm gonna say and then. What and then does is like it says. So you could use if else. So I use and then. So what it does, it actually reduces your code. It says if test drive is true, then only you render the button secondary, which is like the button secondary here, which is what I'm gonna be actually importing. So this only renders the button if the test drive, if we are sending a prop call test drive, which means which is for the first car we are sending this prop, for the second we are not. So it's not gonna be, it's only gonna be available for when we are sending the test drive. I mean, you guys got what I'm saying, right? It's pretty easy. So button secondary is gonna have a name of test drive. It's the button name basically. Now let's just actually see how it's looking. Oh my god, we have to really work on the CSS right now because it's really not looking good. So once you're done with the CSS, it's gonna look super clean. It's actually rendering out. As you see, this is the test drive is there. For the second, there's no test drive, right? As you can see how useful these props are. Now after this div, the card actions, we're gonna have another div saying car info. I think this is the last one. And inside this, I'm gonna have a span. Basically, span is gonna say request a call, and outside the span, I'm just gonna write some normal text. I'm gonna say to speak with. Actually, let me just copy this. I'm so lazy right now. So it's gonna be obviously inside our car.js where it is. It's actually here. So to speak with a product specialist. Okay, to speak with a product specialist. Okay, so this is clean. Should render out here and should render out here as well. Nice. Now let's work on the CSS. So first of all, let's just go to Tesla account.css and yeah, here. So let me get to my Tesla account.css first. So it's gonna have a Tesla account. We're gonna have this, and let me just get it side by side here. So yeah, so I'm gonna have. So I'm just gonna target my header first. Tesla account header. So I have a header here, right? I have this header, which I need some styling there. So padding is gonna be 7 pixels, top bottom, left and right 20 pixels. Padding top is gonna be 15 pixels, and display is gonna be flex. Then we're gonna say justified content space between, and we're gonna say align items of center, and we're gonna say background color of 222 and color of white. I'm gonna actually show you guys a neat trick for the logo color here. So Tesla account links, let me target that. Links. So links are the links, right? Display flex, a gap property of 20 pixels, and align items of center. As soon as I do that, now because of this logo image actually not looking really good, let me actually target this right now. Tesla account logo. Inside the logo I have a link, remember, and then we have the image. So I'm just saying object fit contain. I'm gonna say width of 80 pixels. As soon as I do that, now we see everything. So now you see the logo is actually black, and for some reason I couldn't actually find a white logo for Tesla. Yeah, I mean, I just searched through Google and couldn't find it. I don't know why, but so I figured out a way to actually make it white, and that way is actually pretty cool if you guys don't know that. So you use something called filter, and you use something called brightness inside it. So I don't know what it is actually, but it's a useful way to actually convert anything from black to white or white to black. So as soon as I do that, you see, actually becomes white. So if you change these values the other way around, it's gonna make it black. Yeah. So it's a pretty cool trick which I found on Google. Now I'm just gonna target my Tesla account. So I actually didn't do one thing here. I have to do that after my links. I need to actually target the actual links, right? So I need to target the actual links inside my thing. So I need to make them color white. I need to say text decoration of none. I need to say font weight of 500, and I need to say text transform of uppercase, font size of 15 pixels, and z index of 0. As soon as I do that, now it looks clean. Now it really looks. Now you see this issue which is happening here. So we need to actually figure this out. We don't actually see the cross icon here, so we need to figure that out. And now I'm just gonna target my Tesla account menu. Yeah, let's target it, which is gonna obviously contain the menu, right? So the Tesla account menu has a Z index of 2. So as soon as I actually do that, it doesn't actually do anything. But what it actually does, I think it's the color. Oh, it's actually coming up, but the color is actually white, so we can't actually see the cross. We need to make it black actually. So I think that's the problem. So I'm gonna use this menu, and I'm gonna target. Remember I told you guys this SVG, the material UI name, class names basically. So I'm gonna use them. So inside my menu, I have those icons, right? So I'm gonna target those icons. I'm gonna say cursor of pointer, and then I have something called close menu, which is actually I want to see. I don't have that class name, so I'm just gonna see if I have this class name for close menu. Okay, so we have something. Where's the yeah? So for the close icon, I want to make it. Obviously, I want to make it black, right? Because we cannot actually see it right now. So I want to have a class name of Tesla account close menu. Copy this up, save this first, and what I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna target this class and make it color of black, so you can actually see this. As soon as I save that, you'll see, you can actually see that. Yeah, so it's working exactly the way we want to. Obviously this image is actually huge, so you're gonna figure that out now. So that's done. Now let's move on to Tesla account info. So for the info, I'm gonna say display of flex. I'm gonna say justify content of space between, and line items of center. Padding, I wanna say 60 pixels top bottom and 140 pixels left and right. Padding bottom of 30 pixels. As soon as I do that, it's this basically, these two things. And then I wanna target my Tesla account person. Remember we had another div inside my info called person, and for the person I want to actually target the h4 inside the person. So for my h4 I want a font weight of 500. I want the text transform of uppercase. I want to say font size of extra large, and it's not uppercase, actually capitalize. It's this one basically. Yeah, now I'm gonna target my Tesla account. I know it's a lot to actually take in, but this is what actually, these are the subtle changes that actually makes your website look so cool, you know. I mean, now if you look at these things, it's actually looking horrible, but I mean, these are the things that actually make it look really, really clean, like here, you see. So for the info, right, I'm just gonna say display of flex, and give a gap between 20 pixels. So what's actually my info, right? Info, right, has all these links, right? So this section here, yeah, so I have a gap here as well. Now I'm gonna target my links, obviously, because they're not looking good. So my links inside the info, right? So I'm just gonna say a text decoration of none. I'm gonna say color, a custom color of 393C41, 393C41. I'm gonna say a font size of smaller. And I'm gonna say a transition, because you're gonna have a hover effect on it, of 0.2 seconds. And I want to say text transform of capitalize as well. As soon as I do that, you see how it looks. It changes. Now we're gonna have a hover effect. Now I'm just gonna say hover. For my hover effect, I'm gonna say color to black and change the font weight to 500. Now as soon as I do that, you see these subtle changes actually makes it look beautiful. So this is done. Now the last thing which I'm gonna target is the Tesla account car div. So I think I give this a class of Tesla. Yeah. So all my cars are gonna be inside a container called Tesla account car, right? I'm gonna display this container as grid because I want everything to be in column direction. I'm gonna use that trick which I showed you guys before. Place items in center, and I'm gonna use gap of 30 pixels vertically. Padding bottom is gonna be 40 pixels, and that's it for this component basically. Now we're not gonna see these changes because this images are actually going outside. So now let's work on the car.css. Let's go on to the car.css. So for the car.css, I'm gonna have a car. I'm gonna say display of grid, and I'm gonna place items again center. This trick is actually pretty useful actually. So you can use this so many times if you wanna actually save some time. A custom color of D0, D0, D1, D2. So each of these cars, you see they have a border top, right? As you see here, right? So each of these cars are gonna have a border top. Now, I don't want it to be that huge. I want it to be looking clean and crisp, like in this. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna target my car image first. I'm gonna say target the image, object fit again, object fit of contain. I'm gonna say width of 1000 pixels. So as soon as I set the width, you see how it's looking. So actually gets it really nice. If I don't do this, it's actually spanning off. As soon as I set the width, now it's looking clean. Now I wanna target my car model, which is the text basically. It's gonna be font weight of 500, and it's gonna have a font size of extra large. So margin top. So for the margin top, I'm doing something very unusual. I'm saying margin top of minus 180 pixels, and why I'm actually doing that is because if I don't do this, let's say, it's actually looking really far away. And why is it actually doing this? Because the image is actually taking a huge amount of space here vertically. So but if I make the image smaller, then it's not gonna look good, because this image is gonna because I set the object fit to contain. So I mean it's gonna stretch out if I don't do that, obviously, and it's not gonna look good. I want the image to be the same size, but maybe this to come over the image if it's fine, because it actually doesn't matter that much. You see, you don't see any changes here. So image doesn't have any backgrounds. The background is actually white, so it's blending in, you see. So that's why I want the margin bottom to be minus 1, so it actually comes closer to this. And then I want the text transform to be capitalized. Yeah, now it's looking clean. Now obviously I want to target my car actions containing my buttons. I want to say display of flex, and I'm going to say align items of center. Then I'm going to say a gap between them of 20 pixels and a margin top again. I'm going to say minus 40 pixels. So again I want to bring it closer to my image basically. Now this, you see, it's not working the way it's supposed to, right? I'm going to figure this out next. Now inside my car actions I have the button, right? So I want to target both my buttons. I'm going to say width of 230 pixels. I'm going to say margin bottom of 30 pixels. So when I give the width of 230 pixels, they both become the same width basically. As soon as I do that, and margin bottom is just the margin bottom. It's actually looking really clean now, you see. And now car info. Car info, I think, is this, right? Actually let me check it out. Yeah, it's actually that. It should not be, should be a footer, I would say. It's not to be, because actually this should come inside car info, but it's fine. You guys could change it to a car footer, makes more sense. So for the car footer or info, I'm just gonna max width of 350 pixels. I'm gonna say text align of center. I'm gonna say font size of smaller, and I'm gonna say line height of 1.5. I'm going to say font weight is going to be 500, and the color is going to be a custom 393C41. So 393C41. Yeah, it's going to be the car info. So you see, oh, this is looking clean now. Now the last thing I want to target is the span inside my car info, which is, I guess, this thing request a call. So I want this color to be 3E 6BE2 6BE2 blue, and a cursor of pointer. I want it to be like a link effect, right? But it's actually not showing a link effect for some reason. So let's actually figure this out later. I mean, why is it actually not showing a link effect? So we'll figure this out later. Let's actually first complete this part. So this is done. Car info is done. Pretty much everything's done. Now what I want to do is like actually want to sign in rather than going to the link, and I want to make this so it actually redirects it to the login page basically. So I want to do that bunch of stuff right now. So our CSS is done, right? So let's just go back to the application right now. So this is our application, and let's get back to app.js first of all. Let's see, actually let me check if there's any other thing. So I think we have pretty much completed this. Now what is remaining is actually the login. We have to go to that login, and we have to change the routes and stuff. Let's get back to app.js. Inside our app.js we have pretty much everything complete here inside the switches. So what I actually want to do right now, so I want to show you guys a use effect hook basically right now, and so it actually persists. So after we log in, so remember I told you guys in the starting that after we actually log in, and if I go to the home page right now, if I go back to my Tesla account, it doesn't actually take me to the login page. It persists and actually takes me back to the application because I actually didn't sign out, right? You see what it does? This is what I want in our application to happen. So I'm gonna do that is I'm gonna use a use effect. Now what a use effect is, it's a very powerful hook, and it basically runs on a specific condition. So first of all, I'm just gonna import it. So it runs on a specific condition, and the specific condition is actually this condition. So if I just have an empty array here, this is like a dependency basically. So it's gonna run when the component loads. It's gonna run once only. It's gonna only run once when the component loads, and not gonna run again. And if I don't have this here, let's say, it's gonna run every time the component loads. Okay, but I want it to actually run once only when the component loads. I'm gonna tell you guys why. I'm gonna use auth here, okay, from our local Firebase, and I'm gonna use a Firebase on auth state change function. So what it does, actually checks that if the user is actually logged in or logged out. So it checks the state basically, the authentication state. So I'm gonna do the same thing here as I did before, user auth, and this is gonna be like a function here. So I'm gonna say if user auth. I'm gonna explain this thing. So if the user, obviously if the user auth is there, which means that the user is actually signed in, right? It makes sense, right? If the user auth is there, the user is actually signed in. In which case, if the user is signed in, we dispatch login function. So for dispatch to work, we need dispatch first. So const dispatch is equal to, I'm gonna say use dispatcher. So use dispatch hook, import it from React Redux. So I'm gonna say dispatch a login function or login action, whatever you wanna call it, and I need to import it obviously. and here's the payload. So here's actually, it's pretty similar here. So email is going to be the user auth.email. So what we're actually doing here is that we're checking if a user auth is there. So if a user auth is there, the user is actually signed in. So if the user is signed in, we actually dispatch a login action, right? So we want to persist it. We want to persist it if the user is actually signed in. And then I'm going to say UID user auth.uid, and display name is going to be user auth.display name. And this is all from Firebase. So as I told you guys, everything is inside Firebase. So if this user auth is there, then only this is gonna happen, right? But what if user auth is not there? Then it just means the user is signed out, right? User is signed out. And this is actually inside Firebase documentation. So if you go and you just search something called persistence, if you go here and search Firebase persistence, it's gonna actually authentication step. So it's actually gonna tell you how to actually do this inside here. It's exactly the same thing I'm actually doing here. So you will actually read this persistence. Then there's so many things here. Read more about it. So if user auth is not there, user is actually signed out. In which case we need to dispatch an action. Remember, we need to dispatch a logout action, right? We can't just say if the user is signed out, do nothing. You have to dispatch logout. So actually logs the user out and makes the Redux state, which is what I'm actually gonna show you guys in a while. Now you see this squiggly line here. It's because it has a missing dependency. So what you're gonna do here is you just go quick fix and update the dependencies, so it doesn't show you any line. So because when we use anything inside the use effect which is outside of the use effect, like a dispatch which is actually outside the use effect, we have to actually import it inside as a dependency. We have to actually do this. So whenever the dispatch actually changes, we actually have to run the use effect again. So we dispatch the logout action, and yeah, I mean that's it. That's all persistence is, guys. That's all persistence is. Now let me just give a final check to our application. If everything's exactly the way it should be. So header block is there. This is one route, then this is another route for login, Tesla account login. Sign up has another route, and then we have another route called Tesla account, where the user, so this is what actually I've done wrong here. So if the user is there, why do we want to show login, right? If the user is there, we want to show Tesla account, right? Why do we want to show login? So if the user is not there, we want to show login. So you saw that, guys, like when I was actually doing this. I'm gonna show you guys that. So if the user is actually not there, then we're gonna show login, right? Why would we want to show login if the user is there? It makes sense, right? And if the user is there, then we're gonna show the Tesla account page, right? So this is completely right here. And I think, yeah, we are done with this. We are actually done. Let's just actually check before saying anything further. Let's just go to Tesla account. Yeah, let's test it out, guys. Let's test it out. So I'm gonna open my Redux here, and obviously the state is gonna be null right now. I'm just gonna refresh everything. Let's go. So let's type in our email, right? And let's try it out, test it out. I mean, so it's gonna tell me there's no user record corresponding to this identified as. Obviously it makes sense, right? This is a different clone. It's not this clone, so there's no record of that user. So I have to create an account. Let's just name it like let's just name it like Elon Musk. And this is Elon @gmail.com. Let's just say Tesla. It's much better. Okay. And let's just say Elon Musk here, and let's just keep the password as Elon Musk, right? Create account. Moment of truth, guys. Boom. You see guys, what happened? and here we go. Now it's not showing Tesla because I messed up inside my Tesla account, right? So Tesla account, where's Tesla account? Tesla account here. So it should, here it should actually say Elon's Tesla. So I'm just gonna say Tesla here. As soon as I say that, it should render. Let's go. So you see the Redux, did you notice this thing? So it actually, so what I was actually telling you guys is the action.payload, right? So when we dispatch and login action, it actually gives us something called payload, right? So now this payload has all these things. It has all these objects, right? Email, UID, and display name. So we could actually use this later in our Redux thing, basically. Now let's just see if it actually persists. So if we go back, click here. Now it's not actually taking us back. Let's figure it out why it's not taking us back, because we have the logo, and yeah, because we didn't say that to take us back, right? We need to go back to our home page. I think it's still, yeah, now it's going back. So now you see, so this is acting a bit weird right now. I think it's because of this. Yeah, it's because of that. So that's fine. I didn't actually work on the responsiveness. Let's actually see if it's actually persisting. Right, so let's go back and let's refresh. Let's go back here. So you see guys, what happened? As soon as I refresh, it persists. How this is happening is because of this thing here, auth state change. This is what we are doing here, right? That is why it's happening. So it's persisting. Now let's check if it logs out. So either of these buttons, it should actually log out. So I click here. Now it actually didn't actually take me to the home page, right? I need to redirect it. So when I actually log out, I need to redirect it to my home page, which is actually missing here. So let's find out what we actually missed. So inside our Tesla account.js, oh, we didn't actually sign out, right? We didn't actually create. You see, this is missing, guys. So let me go back to Tesla account.js, and for this, it's pretty simple. I'm just gonna use auth again, and I'm gonna say auth.signout, and signout is actually given by Firebase, a beautiful function. And yeah, I mean, that's it. That's all you have to do, and accepts a promise. And I guess you're gonna say .then, and I'm gonna say dispatch. Now obviously I told you guys, right, you have to use dispatch. So whenever you actually sign out, you have to basically remove the data from the data layer, right? You have to make the user null back again. So const dispatch. So dispatch is actually pretty useful. I have to get used to this dispatch thing. Okay, now I'm gonna dispatch, and I'm gonna dispatch a logout action here. I'm gonna say logout, import it from my user slice. And after I do this, so after I do the dispatch, I need to use history again. So I'm gonna create const history as well. I'm gonna say use history, because I wanna actually push, right? So I wanna actually push back to my home page, right? So after I dispatch successfully, what I wanna do is I actually wanna use my history to actually push it back to the home page. It's as simple as that. I'm gonna check for errors here. If there's any error, alert me with the error .message. It's as simple as that. So now it's just gonna make the user, so remember what logout does is actually makes the user null, right? So if you go to our user slice, logout actually changes the state back to null. So in our Redux, we should see something called null, right? The state to be changing to null. And I refresh this. Yeah, so it's persisting, right? Because I didn't actually click here. So I'm gonna click here and test it out right now. Boom. I'm gonna go back to my Redux. Let's check it out. You see what actually happened there? So the state actually became null, right? State actually became null. So you see state is null right now. as soon as I actually log in, right? So say Elon, because Elon is already there now, Elon Musk. Password was Elon Musk. Click on sign in. Here we go. So now it's actually signed in successfully, and we have it changed, right? It changed. Difference should be there, but I don't know why it's not coming. But actually changed from null to back this again. Now now we clicked here, right? So I'm gonna click here this time. Click here. It's working the same way. User is null again. Now we actually go back here, and one more thing I want to test out is this. So remember when you're using this, right? So now you see what's actually happening. It's redirecting me. So it's actually redirecting me back to login. So it's not actually taking me to the Tesla one because the user is not there. And that's what I actually did inside my app.js. What I said here is actually redirect. So when I'm using redirect here, so what I'm saying here, if there's no user, I want you to redirect my user, the client or whoever is accessing the website to login page, because he's not actually logged in, right? So whenever I access this path, basically, so that's what I'm doing. So it's pretty cool, I would say. So our application is complete. I don't think there's any bug right now, and we're gonna actually deploy this using Firebase. It's gonna be pretty cool as well. Now I need to actually I have to do this. So I have to go to my signup.js, and I actually have to, yes, actually this is super important. I have to do this. Take it back to home page. Yeah, so you could create an account, and what happens is, like, once you create an account, you actually go to this authentication. You actually go to your project, your authentication here, and you'll see a user here popping up. And then you could basically delete that user, and you could basically add that user, whatever you want to do. So you see Elon Musk is actually popping up here. So this is pretty cool, and you can just you have a user UID, user created, sign in, you can disable, delete, reset, everything. And you can add it manually as well, user. You can do pretty much so much stuff with Firebase. Now it should take me, yeah, it's taking me back. This is working nice, and yeah, this is working nice as well. Refresh is working. It's very clean. Let's just deploy this now. So deployment is very easy. What I have to actually do is so once you actually do all these bunch of stuff, close everything, open app.js. What I'm gonna do right now is I need a optimized build folder, right? So I'm gonna do so first of all I'm gonna do Firebase init. So it actually gives you the Firebase CLI basically. If you do this, I'm gonna Firebase init and press enter. See, it gives you this cool Firebase CLI. So I'm gonna go down to hosting. I'm gonna press space, and I'm gonna press enter. And since I already created this project, right, so I have this project here, right, I'm gonna use an existing project, and I'm gonna choose this one. You see, Tesla clone YT. I'm gonna choose this, press enter. Now this is super important, guys. You have to write build here. You can't just press enter here. So we need a build folder. So it's saying, what do you want to use as your public directory? We need the build. Okay, I'm gonna press enter here. Single page. Every React app is a single page app, so yes. And I don't want this right now, but this is actually a pretty cool feature of Firebase. And yeah, it's complete. So initialization is complete. Now what I want to do is basically I want to say yarn build. If you're using npm, you have to say npm run build. So it's actually gonna create an optimized folder for you, because these files are actually really huge, right? So actually minify everything, and if you know what minifying does is, like, it actually gets rid of all these spaces and stuff. So it's gonna get rid of all the spaces, all the unused space, and it's gonna minify everything in a one single build file basically. So after this is complete, we could just deploy our application, and that's it. We are done with it, and it's actually live. Another thing I wanted to actually tell you guys is that I didn't actually work on the responsiveness of this application, because it's a fairly large application. Took us a huge amount of time, and to add more media queries and stuff, it's gonna take a lot more time. So I just wanted to focus on the authentication and stuff and teach you guys like how to basically do all this authentication, persistence, and the hot features of Firebase which you could use, and yeah, some CSS cool features as well. So that was my main focus. If you guys pretty much want to make it responsive, you guys could actually do it and make it responsive if you guys want to. Yeah, as and actually add it as your project, you know. So this is done, and now I'm just gonna run Firebase deploy. So as soon as I do that, it's just gonna deploy the site live. I'm gonna press enter. Now it's gonna be live, guys. It's gonna be live, and you guys, whoever watched till the end, can actually go to the live website and actually view it. You can just type in the address and just view it live. Create an account and just do it. Here we go. Here we go. So this is the URL, and it's live here. I'm gonna open this up. As soon as I open this up, it's gonna be the exact same application when we started this. Here we go, guys. It's actually live now. Super cool. We have everything kicking in. Let's just try it once more. So my account is not gonna disappear or anything. It's gonna be still there, right? I'm gonna sign in. As I sign in, it takes me to the login. Beautiful page, and this is working pretty good. This is working. Everything's gonna work. Nothing's actually checking. Let's just check persistence again. Refresh it. Persist. Refresh. Persist. Pretty cool. Sign out. And one more thing is I want to check out if I want to add like, let's say if I had a wrong password, it's gonna give me. It says another user does not have a password, and let's check that out as well. That's the account. Pretty much takes me to the login. Pretty cool, guys. Pretty cool. Yeah, now you guys could add this as your project and in your portfolio or whatever you want. And it's a pretty huge clone. It's a pretty huge build we have done here, and we've successfully actually completed it. As for my first video, I'm actually proud of it because we had come a very long way in this one. And to be very honest, I'll tell you guys how I actually learned all these things. So I actually learned all these things from a person called Sunny Sangha. He has a YouTube channel and he does all these beautiful things, and he's actually called Papa React. And yeah, he has a bunch of cool clones in his videos that you can learn from. I actually learned React from him, and a huge shout out to him basically for actually teaching a lot of people in the most simplest manner possible. Yeah, and that's how I actually got to build these things here. Yeah, guys, it's gonna be a pretty, it's really pretty big clones. I'm gonna sign off right now. I'm really tired, and you guys will be tired as well if you guys stay till the end. And let me know in the comments below what you guys want me to do next, which clone you want me to work on. I'm thinking of maybe some database stuff right now because it'd be cool to have database and collections inside of Firebase, or whatever you guys wanna actually learn. Just tell me. Yeah, I'm gonna make a video on it. Thanks a lot, guys, for watching this, and I'm gonna sign off now. So goodbye guys.